day his little sister landed in Africa, she immediately realized just how far her brother's reach truly was. Not only was his visa in the top tier of diplomatic access, even the airlines had specially departed early just for them. She originally thought he had just become some minor local manager, but when she saw the chat messages on his phone, she nearly dropped it on the spot. It was a construction progress report for an interstellar fleet. Before she could even process that, dozens of fighter jets roared overhead. He gently patted her on the head and smiled. "Since you're here, let me show you what your brother is really made of." She spun around and stared at him hard. "What exactly are you doing out here in Africa?" He only smiled faintly, his high-end casual outfit making him look effortlessly commanding. Then he spoke with total calm. "Nothing much, just started a little company. It's called Huanyu Group." Xinxia repeated the name to herself, brow furrowed. She had never heard of it. She pressed him on what the company does, but he dodged the details. Mining, security, machinery, a little bit of everything. But just then, Xinxia's eyes snapped toward the car window and froze. Both in front and behind their convoy were 3 heavy armored vehicles escorting them. The heavy machine guns on top gleamed cold in the moonlight, the whole convoy like a small private army. Her voice was trembling. "What are those people?" He calmly introduced them like office staff. "They're all employees from the company's security division," he added casually. Doing business in Africa, safety comes first. Xinxia's mind completely crashed. This was only 2 years. 2 years ago, her brother went to Africa to find work. How did he suddenly end up with his own private armed force? But then Xinxia's eyes lit up like she had figured something out. She stared at him wide-eyed. "Come clean. Did you get some kind of system? A warlord system? Or an I became the boss of Africa system?" That caught him off guard for a split second. But he kept his expression perfectly steady, just laughed and shook his head. "You've been reading too many novels." Then he changed the subject, grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge, and handed it to her. But without warning, Xinxia pulled out her phone to check the time, only to see 2 words on the screen. No signal. They were still basically in the city area. How could there be no signal? As she looked puzzled, he was already prepared. He pulled a brand new phone from the storage compartment and handed it over. "Use this one. It's on the company's private signal network." The moment Xinxia held it, she knew something was different. The phone was impossibly light, with a smooth, almost jade-like texture. 5 full bars of signal instantly. He explained simply. "The carrier signal is terrible out here, so we built our own communication system." She tried to open the settings to check the specs, but the hardware info was completely hidden. Only one line was displayed. Huanyu Group Custom Edition. She looked up suddenly, eyes sparkling. "Bro, can I start a live stream?" He just nodded. "Go ahead if you want." The next second, she lit up and launched the stream right away. The title read, "Arriving in Africa, Brother Picks Me Up." The moment she went live, the chat started flooding with comments about the car's luxurious interior. The interior instantly filled the screen. "Is that a Maybach? Xia, is your family that rich?" Xinxia immediately turned the camera toward him. He just gave the lens a warm smile. The chat went absolutely wild. "Big Bro is so handsome. He drives a Maybach. What does Big Bro do for a living?" He looked at his little sister and she explained with a slightly embarrassed grin. "This is my brother's company car. He runs a corporate group out here in Africa." Just then, one comment flashed past. "I think I saw armored vehicles. Am I seeing things?" Then the whole stream erupted. "You're not seeing things, I saw them too. What's going on? Xia, what is your brother actually doing out there?" Xinxia turned to him and whispered, "Can you show them the convoy outside?" He smirked and pressed the sunroof button. At his command, the panoramic roof slowly slid open. The next second, Xinxia leaned out through the roof and aimed the camera outside. The entire livestream went dead silent. In the frame, 3 heavily armored vehicles coated in desert camouflage rolled forward. The heavy machine guns on top still gleamed with a cold, ominous light. On both sides and the rear were tightly packed armed escort vehicles. Then the chat erupted like a volcano. "What the heck, those are real armored vehicles. And those are heavy machine guns. Are they filming a movie? Xia, is your brother a warlord or a mob boss?" Facing the flood of comments, his little sister excitedly explained. "These are all security forces under the company." She turned the camera toward him again. A fan asked if the weapons are real. He just gave the camera a calm little smile. "Of course they're real." His tone was steady, but it landed like a thunderclap. "But don't worry everyone. This is all legally registered security equipment." That set the chat off again. Legal armored vehicles and heavy machine guns. What kind of operation is this company running? Big Bro's voice is so gentle, but what he does is absolutely hardcore. Is the company hiring? I want to go work for you in Africa. His little sister excitedly told the stream they were heading to his residence. The words had barely left her mouth when the lights ahead blazed into view. A checkpoint surrounded by sandbags and barbed wire appeared out of nowhere. The floodlights from the watchtower lit up everything around them like broad daylight. Several fully armed soldiers saw their convoy and immediately snapped to attention. The whole checkpoint process took less than a minute, professional to the point of being suffocating. The stream captured every moment of it clearly. The chat went insane again with comments. Setting up your own checkpoint in Africa, what kind of company does that? Xinxia immediately turned to him. Fans want to know why you're allowed to have a checkpoint here. He patiently explained. It's part of a cooperation agreement with the local government. They're responsible for maintaining safety and order in this area. The tone of the chat shifted instantly, from skepticism to a tidal wave of admiration. So he's officially certified royalty. What an unbelievable guy. The viewer count shot from a few hundred straight past 10,000. Because honestly, who had ever seen a real-life livestream that felt like a war movie? Just then, a comment floated by. Xia, ask your brother if we can see the weapons. His little sister carefully relayed the question. He thought for a moment, then nodded. Sure, I'll give everyone a taste of the hardware. Small arms are fine, heavy weapons not so much. The stream absolutely exploded. Everyone was screaming that they were ready. Then another checkpoint came into view ahead, but this one was on an entirely different scale, practically a small military base. A row of armored vehicles sat at the ready. Over a dozen soldiers holding high-grade weapons spotted their convoy, and every single soldier snapped to attention in perfect unison. Their movements were parade ground sharp. Just as Xinxia was panning the camera, a bold comment exploded across the screen. I'm a retired soldier. Their equipment and tactical formations are absolutely not from any ordinary security company. That comment hit like a depth charge. No way, is that real? A professional just weighed in. I knew these weren't just guards. Xia, does your brother's company have some serious background? Xinxia was starting to have her own doubts. She looked over at him nervously. A retired soldier said your security people are way too professional. He kept his composure and answered smoothly. Our company prioritizes hiring veterans. That ironclad explanation shut down every question again. After all, offering high salaries to retired soldiers was perfectly normal. Even so, the viewer count blew past 30,000 because of it. Xinxia watched the numbers surge and felt both excited and nervous. Just then a fan asked, Xia, what's your brother's company called? Xinxia blurted it out without thinking. Wanyu Group. But the next second someone noticed her brother's gentle gesture of covering her up. Wait, did anyone else notice the watch on Big Bro's wrist? It looks absolutely insane. His touch was as delicate as handling a priceless treasure. And all of it was being watched live by thousands of people. The viewer count kept climbing. Chat exploded again. Oh my god. The way Big Bro tucked the blanket was so gentle. Did anyone else notice the watch on his wrist? It looks like an incredible timepiece. It looked like a sophisticated, elegant watch. He gently brushed the loose strands of hair from her forehead, handling her like she was something rare and precious. And the whole stream watched every bit of it. The viewer count just kept going up. Chat was going off. Oh my god. That was so gentle. Did anyone catch the watch on his wrist? It looked unreal. How many vehicles are in this convoy anyway? At least 15. He took none of it in, just quietly kept watch over his little sister. Meanwhile, in another Maybach, the mood was completely different. Xinxia's 3 roommates had their eyes wide open like owls. Did you see the way the staff looked at her brother? That wasn't how employees look at a boss. That was reverence. Pure, absolute reverence. All 3 girls realized in that moment that he was not some ordinary overseas worker. This was practically an independent kingdom. Li Xiu was trembling as she threw out a guess. Do you think Xiaxia's brother might be a warlord? Or like, the head of some secret organization? Ling Xiaoxiao immediately pushed back. Xiaxia's brother doesn't look like a bad person. And besides, if he really was that kind of person, why would he let us come? Wouldn't he be worried about exposure? That one sentence left the other 2 speechless. What they didn't know was that somewhere unseen above their heads, for invisible armed helicopters were silently escorting them the whole way. And even further out, 2 fighter jets had already been circling above the cloud layer. That was the absolute safety net he had laid out for his little sister. At the same time, the livestream's viewer count had quietly crossed 50,000. Countless viewers were drawn in by the hardcore Africa Night convoy footage, sharing it like crazy. The chat exploded. Holy, this stream is more intense than a movie. Can any military experts analyze what level of equipment this actually is? I zoomed in on a screenshot. Those heavy machine guns are real, and the soldiers' gear is all top tier. The hype kept building. The viewer count was closing in on 100,000. Meanwhile, a soundly sleeping Xinxia had no idea. He watched her peaceful sleeping face. His eyes held a complicated depth. He knew tonight's dream was just the beginning. When she woke up and reached the base, the truth would unfold layer by layer. That was when the real test would come. But he was already prepared. 2 years of building and waiting. Wasn't it all for exactly this day? What no one could have imagined was that far away in the asteroid belt of the solar system, another massive project had already quietly launched. 12 kilometers long, an interstellar warship, an army of 1 million people in space. That was the ultimate card he had prepared for this world. But right now, there was only one thing he wanted to do. He gently took his little sister's hand, his gaze unwavering. Shinxia, welcome to your brother's world. Just then, the convoy passed through the final gate. The massive alloy doors slid open with a grinding sound, instantly jolting Shinxia awake. She rubbed her sleepy eyes. Are we here? He smiled slightly. His voice was gentle but full of strength. We're here. Welcome to my estate. Shinxia looked out through the window and was instantly frozen. Before her was a place ablaze with light, like a city made of steel. Floodlights sliced through the night sky. On the towering perimeter walls, fully armed soldiers stood watch. The night vision gear on their helmets glowed with an eerie cold light. Inside the walls, pairs of soldiers patrolled in precise lockstep, the guns in their hands reflecting a deadly sheen. Shinxia's voice was trembling, pale-faced and speechless. These are definitely special forces. Seeing the shock on his little sister's face, he just smiled faintly. This is the company headquarters. Safety comes first in Africa, so security is thorough. Thorough. Shinxia repeated the word under her breath, feeling like his definition of thorough and hers were operating in completely different dimensions. The convoy moved on, driving along the wide main road. On both sides were weapons depots, maintenance workshops, and helicopter pads everywhere you looked. Even further in the distance, a few runways were visible, with the faint silhouettes of fighter jets barely making themselves known. The livestream viewer count instantly spiked and blew past 150,000. At this scale, how much money must be behind this? I just saw armored vehicles doing night training. This isn't a company headquarters. This is literally a military fortress. However, after the convoy drove another 5 kilometers, the surrounding scenery shifted completely. The imposing military facilities vanished. In their place were carefully manicured gardens and soft streetlights, a stark contrast to the searchlights from before. Just when everyone was still trying to make sense of it, yet another elegant gate came into view ahead. The attendants at the gate were dressed in silver uniforms. They saw the convoy and immediately saluted and opened the way. As the vehicles passed through, Shinxia and everyone in the stream held their breath as one. The sight before them crashed every brain in the room at once. It was a sprawling estate, with a red-roofed, 7-story luxury villa at its center. Inside the estate, lush trees filled every corner. Even a massive fountain stood in the garden. The atmosphere was warm and tranquil, as if it belonged to a completely different world from the military fortress they had just passed through. Is this where you live? Shinxia stared at him with wide eyes. He just nodded and said without missing a beat, yes, the work area and living area are separate. This is the living area. As the words left his mouth, the convoy came to a smooth stop at the front entrance of the villa. He stepped out first, then extended his hand to help Shinxia out of the car. The moment her feet touched the red carpet, she felt like she was dreaming. She raised her phone and aimed it at the magnificent villa before her, voice trembling slightly. Friends, we're here. This is my brother's place in Africa. The live stream chat detonated instantly. A villa? You're calling this a villa? This is a freaking castle. First a military base, now a luxury estate. The contrast is insane. Xia, what kind of life is your brother living out here? Like royalty or something? At the same time, Ling Xiaoxiao and the others stepped out of their car as well, staring up at the magnificent building, completely speechless. He walked over to them with a warm smile. You've had a long journey. Your rooms and dinner are already ready. Let's head inside. The 3 girls nodded mechanically, still unable to tear their eyes away from the villa. Shinxia came back to herself, grabbed her roommate's hand, and pulled her toward the door. Let's go take a look. But when she pushed open the door and saw the grand hall with its 10-meter ceilings and massive crystal chandelier, she was frozen on the spot again. The marble floors so polished you could see your reflection. A giant crystal chandelier hung above everything. Sweeping curved staircases on both sides of the hall led up to the 2nd floor. And directly facing the entrance was a massive floor-to-ceiling window, looking out onto the glittering night view of the back garden. Oh my god. Ling Xiaoxiao finally found her voice again, but could barely speak. This place is way too incredible. Just then, a group of staff came forward and politely took their luggage. Another group brought warm towels and drinks. The service was overwhelmingly attentive. He looked at his dazed little sister and spoke calmly. Go freshen up first. Dinner in 15 minutes. The butler will show you to your room. Right on cue, a refined man of about 50, dressed in a black suit, stepped forward with a slight bow. Ladies, please follow me. Shinxia quickly glanced at her phone. The live stream count had somehow already broken past 200,000. She quickly said something to the camera and decisively ended the stream. The head butler then led all 4 girls upstairs. He opened a set of double doors and smiled gently at Shinxia. Miss Shinxia, your room is the master suite on the east wing. The other ladies' rooms are in the west wing, all independent suites. When Shinxia walked into her room, she was utterly overwhelmed once again. It was a massive suite, easily over 200 square meters. Bedroom, dressing room, private bathroom, a walk-in closet, and a huge 4-poster bed draped in premium sheets. The bathroom even had a marble jacuzzi bathtub. Just as Shinxia was still reeling from the shock, the butler's voice came again. Miss, the wardrobe has been stocked with clothes for you. From casual wear to formal gowns, all tailored to your measurements. If you need anything at all, just press the call button by the bed. With that, she bowed and quietly stepped out, closing the door softly behind her. Shinxia stood alone by the floor-to-ceiling window, looking out at the night view, unable to settle for a long time. 2 years ago, she had been worried about her brother struggling in Africa. And now this was no struggle at all. This was the life of a king. Suddenly, as if remembering something, she rushed over to the desk. The day his little sister landed in Africa, she realized her brother's connections were something else entirely. Not only was his visa at the top of the diplomatic hierarchy, even the airlines had specially departed early just for their group. She had originally thought he was just a minor manager around here. But when she saw the chat messages on his phone, she nearly dropped it on the spot. What was on the screen was a fleet construction progress report. Before she could even process that, dozens of fighter jets tore through the sky overhead. He patted her on the head and smiled. Since you're here, let me show you what your brother really looks like. On the desk sat a custom phone, identical to the one in his car. Next to it was a small note. Shinxia used this phone to call home. The signal is great. Shinxia picked it up, but hesitated. She didn't call right away. Instead, she dashed into the bathroom first, changed into some comfortable casual clothes. 15 minutes later, all 4 girls gathered in the main hall. They had all changed into the outfits the staff had prepared, simple t-shirts and casual pants. Ling Xiaoxiao lowered her voice. Her whole face was pure shock. Xiaxia, your brother is something else. Shinxia could only laugh with a helpless smile. I know, I was shocked too. Just then, the head butler appeared again and led them to the dining room. It was a room big enough to seat 30 people. The long mahogany dining table was already covered with all kinds of dishes. He looked up as they walked in and smiled. Sit down, make yourselves at home. It's been a long trip. Shinxia was guided to the seat on his right. She sat down and immediately reopened her stream. The moment it went live, the chat flooded in like an ocean. Oh my god, is that pure gold cutlery? Quick, let's see what a rich person actually eats. He noticed what his little sister was doing, but didn't stop her, just gestured to the waitstaff. The next second, when the appetizers were brought out, the entire chat absolutely lost it. French foie gras, Italian prosciutto, Russian ostra caviar. He gave a simple introduction. All imported fresh ingredients, the foie gras from France, the prosciutto from Italy, and the caviar specially sourced from the sea. The moment he said that, all 4 girls looked at each other in disbelief. These were things they had only ever heard about on TV, and now they were sitting right in front of them. Then the main courses hit even harder. Australian lobster, Kobe beef, Alaskan king crab. Each dish was portioned tableside by a professional chef, then respectfully served to each person by the waitstaff. Shinxia looked at the mountain of plates in front of her and felt like she was still dreaming. She held up her camera, voice trembling. Friends, I don't even know what to say. But the next second, the chat completely erupted. One meal like this would take me 10 years to earn. Kobe beef. Is that bluefin tuna I see? That lobster is bigger than my arm. Xiaxia, what kind of god-tier big shot is your brother? Eating the world's best food in Africa. This isn't just flexing anymore. This is straight up mythological. Just then, he slowly raised his glass. Welcome to Africa, it's been a long journey. Cheers. All 4 girls raised their glasses in return. At first, they were still a little stiff, but the food worked its magic fast. The lobster was sweet and tender. The beef melt in your mouth soft. Every bite hit their senses hard. Meanwhile, the stream's hype kept spiking. The viewer count blowing straight past 300,000. Countless people were screenshotting and sharing it everywhere online. The dinner lasted a full hour. Even after the final dessert was served and finished, Shinxia just leaned back in her chair and let out a satisfied sigh. He checked the time. It was nearly midnight. He He turned to his little sister directly. That's enough for tonight. You all need to rest. He then looked at her three friends and pulled out phones he had already prepared. I've gotten each of you a phone so you can let your families know you're safe. The three girls all stood up and thanked him. He stood as well, his tone firm and final. The head butler will take you to your rooms. Shinxia, you stay, I need a word with you. She nodded. Once the others had all followed the butler out, she shut off the stream without hesitation. The huge dining room was suddenly just the two of them. He walked over and gently rested his hand on her head. How are you holding up? Are you adjusting okay? But Shinxia suddenly looked up at him with an unreadable expression. Tell me the truth, what exactly are you doing out here in Africa? None of this can be explained by just starting a company. He was quiet for a few seconds, then slowly began to speak. Shinxia, there are things I can't fully explain right now. But you have to trust that everything your brother is doing is legal. But Shinxia's face was full of disbelief. She glanced around the room, her voice barely above a whisper. This whole estate, those armed people, the military base we passed. Just how big is your operation? Facing her questions, he just smiled. Big enough to keep all of you safe. That's all that matters. As for the rest, you'll find out gradually. With that, he shifted gears completely. Now go get some rest. Tomorrow I'm taking you somewhere more interesting. More interesting? Shinxia looked puzzled. His mouth curved into a slight smile as he let out three words. The weapons vault. Didn't you promise your fans you'd show them real guns? In an instant, Shinxia's eyes erupted with a light like never before. Can we really? Of course. He patted her shoulder. Go on. And don't forget to call Mom and Dad before bed. He watched his little sister walk away, and in his heart there was only one thought. Little sis, welcome to your brother's world. Meanwhile, on the other side of the estate, her three roommates were experiencing their own version of the same shock. On the video call, Ling Xiaoxiao connected right away. Her parents' relieved faces filled the screen. Xiaoxiao, you made it? Are you safe? Ling Xiaoxiao immediately turned the camera and swept it around the room. I'm here, look. This is the guest room Xiaoxiao's brother prepared for us. On the other end, there was complete silence. After a full 10 seconds, her father managed to choke out a question. Is that a hotel? There's a guest room in the estate. Then Ling Xiaoxiao began telling them everything they had seen on the way. The luxury convoy, the armed escort, the military base. With every sentence, her parents' expressions grew more serious. Is it legal? Meanwhile, in the East Wing Master Suite, Shinxia also connected with her parents. On screen, her parents looked older than before, a few more white hairs. Behind them was the same familiar convenience store shelf. Shinxia's eyes turned red immediately. Xiaxia, are you safe? Her mother's voice was filled with worry. Safe, very safe. Shinxia immediately turned the camera to show the room around her, excitedly showing them everything. Look, the whole estate belongs to my brother. Mom and Dad, you wouldn't believe how powerful Big Brother is. He has his own company out here, he has armored vehicles. But before she could finish, his voice suddenly came from the doorway. Shinxia. She spun around to see him walking in. Shinxia immediately pointed the phone toward him. I'm video calling Mom and Dad right now. He walked calmly in front of the camera and smiled. Long time no see. On the other end, his parents saw their son they hadn't seen in so long, and both their eyes immediately turned red. Little Z, are you okay over there? His mother's voice cracked. I'm doing well. He held his emotions back tightly. Don't worry. But suddenly his father cut in, voice thick with concern. Xiaxia said you have armored vehicles, you have armed men. Little Ze, are you involved in something dangerous? He paused for a few seconds, but his eyes were completely steady. You can relax. Everything I'm doing is legal. In Africa, you simply can't operate without serious security in place. Then he shared his bigger ambitions. Building Huanyu Group is about getting a solid foothold here. But more than that, it's so I can eventually bring you all here to live a better life. We don't need a better life, we just need you to be safe. His mother wiped her tears, but his gaze only became more resolute. Give me a little more time. I'll get everything arranged. After a few more minutes with his parents, she finally asked the question she had been holding back for a long time. Just how big is your operation? The day his little sister first landed in Africa, she immediately knew her brother operated on a level that was hard to believe. Not only was his visa in the highest diplomatic tier, even the airline had departed early specifically for their group. She had thought he was just a mid-level local manager. But when she saw the chat on his phone, she almost dropped it right there. It was a construction progress report for an interstellar fleet. Before she could react, dozens of fighter jets thundered overhead. He stroked her hair gently. Since you're here, let me show you what your brother is really capable of. He looked at his little sister in silence for a moment, then spoke slowly. One word at a time. Big enough. Big enough to protect you from any threat. Big enough so that you and everyone I care about can live freely in this world. The moment he said that, Xinxia became even more worried. Then will you be in danger? He didn't deny it, just said calmly. Danger always exists, but I've made my peace with that. He looked into his little sister's eyes and gave her a sincere promise. Xinxia, remember this. No matter what happens, your brother will always protect you. I believe you. The next morning, Xinxia slept in until past 10 o'clock. She rushed to wash up and change, then stepped out of her room, just in time to run into her 3 roommates who were also barely up. Xinxia felt a little sheepish. You guys just woke up too? Ling Xiaoxiao yawned and complained. We were way too excited last night. Didn't fall asleep until 3 or 4 in the morning. Plus the beds here are just too comfortable. But Li Xiu was a little worried. Sleeping this late as a guest, isn't that too much? Xinxia immediately waved it off. It's fine, my brother won't care. The 4 girls picked up their pace heading downstairs. When they walked into the dining room, breakfast was already laid out, and he was already sitting at the head of the table. He looked up as they came in and smiled. Sleep well? Xinxia immediately dropped into the seat next to him. Amazing, bro, that bed is honestly unreal. I didn't want to get up at all. Glad you liked. He gestured for the staff to serve. What are you all thinking for today? Xinxia's eyes lit up instantly. Didn't you say you were taking us to shoot guns? That one sentence made all 3 roommates perk up with anticipation. He nodded. Sure. But before that, are you planning to stream? Of course. Xinxia nodded eagerly. Then her face fell a little. I want to give something to my fans, but I don't really have any money. He spoke without missing a beat. I'll cover the money, you just focus on streaming. Everything else I'll handle. Xinxia's eyes immediately lit up. Really? So how much should we give? He picked up his water glass, thought for a moment, then dropped a number. For the cash prize, 5 million. 10,000 each, 500 prizes. 5 million. Xinxia's voice cracked right there. Isn't that a bit much? The 3 roommates were even more stunned, mouths hanging open. 5 million was basically an astronomical number to them. He just laughed. Not really. If we're giving something away, it should mean something. Xinxia's voice was shaking as she pushed further. And the gift prizes? He set down his glass and spoke unhurriedly. 10 Porsche Panameras, 3 BMW M5s, and 1 Rolls-Royce Cullinan. The whole dining room fell into a weird silence. All 4 girls stared with eyes wide enough to fit eggs in them. Then the next second, Xinxia screamed. Are you insane? Those cars together must be worth tens of millions. You're just giving them away? He remained completely calm. Pretty much. These are nothing. Xinxia suddenly grabbed his arm and whined. Those luxury cars, even I don't have any of them. He burst out laughing. Then what kind of car do you want? Tell me. I like the BMW M6. Sure. He agreed without a second thought. When you head back home, I'll arrange a private jet to send you and the car back together. Really? Xinxia jumped up excitedly. She rained a flurry of kisses on his cheek. You are seriously the best brother in the entire world. The 3 girls watching nearby were completely dumbstruck. Ling Xiaoxiao whispered under her breath. I wish I had a brother like this. Zhang Yu laughed bitterly. In your dreams. How many brothers like this exist in the whole world? Then he added. And it's not just you. Mom and Dad and your second brother should get new cars too. Ask them what they'd like when you get a chance. No need to worry about the price. Xinxia nodded vigorously. Second brother always wanted an Audi A6. But he cut her off. And a 6 is too basic. Get him at least an 8 or an Fate. What colors do you all want? I'll have them get it ready. Xinxia thought about it. I want white, Mom and Dad black, second brother blue. After all the excitement, she suddenly thought of a problem. What about the paperwork for giving away so many cars? How do you ship them back? And the 5 million cash, how does that even get distributed? He gave her a reassuring look. None of that is your problem. I'll handle it. The cash prizes have a professional team managing them. The cars have full documentation and will be shipped from Africa directly to the mainland. Xinxia couldn't wait any longer and grabbed her phone, typing out a stream announcement. Going live in 1 hour, taking you all to see my brother's toy vault. Plus the most insane giveaway ever. 5 million in cash, 10 Porsche Panameras, 3 BMW M5s, and 1 Rolls-Royce Cullinan. She hit post and nervously watched the screen. In just a few minutes the likes broke 10,000. Comments flooding in fast. Oh my god. Xia, are you serious? 5 million cash. Porsches? A Rolls? I've already signed up, what if I actually win? Whether it's rigged or not, I'm entering first. Then Xinxia's follower count started going insane. From 300,000 surging at hundreds per second, it blew past 500,000 in no time. But that was just the start. Her post got screenshotted and instantly lit up the entire internet. Every major platform was buzzing. Hashtag Africa streamer gives away a Rolls-Royce. Hashtag 500 million cash giveaway. The topics shot up the trending charts. Shunxia watched the constantly jumping numbers on her phone, palms sweating. She looked up wide-eyed at him. The pre-registration count has already passed 1 million and it's still going. He was still completely calm. Makes sense. No one can resist something this big. What you need to focus on now is getting the stream content ready. I'm a little nervous. Shunxia admitted honestly. With this many people watching, what if I mess up? He smiled and reassured her easily. Relax. Just treat it like sharing your life with friends. Didn't you always want to be an outdoor adventure streamer? Now you've got the best material in the world. What are you worried about? Shunxia took a deep breath and tried her best to calm down. Just then, lunch wrapped up and he stood right up. Come on, let's go check out the equipment room. Get familiar with the place first. With him leading the way, they walked through the main building and came to a standalone structure. From the outside it looked like a warehouse, but the security was incredibly tight. 2 fully armed guards stood at the entrance. Cameras and sensors were everywhere. The next second, he unlocked a thick alloy door using fingerprint and retina scans. Inside was a corridor going downward. The lights came on automatically, lighting up the path ahead. He gave a simple explanation. This is the entrance to the underground equipment vault. All the important gear is underground. They walked down the corridor for about 2 floors worth of depth, then reached another door. This time, he entered a passcode and went through biometric verification before the door slowly swung open. What was behind that door left all 4 girls in awe again. It was a massive space spanning thousands of square meters, with ceilings over 10 meters high. The first thing you saw when you walked in was the firearms section. Guns lined every wall. Rifles, handguns, submachine guns. Every single one was polished to a mirror shine, gleaming with a cold metallic light. He began explaining. This is our firearms vault. Basically any gun you can name, it's in here. Shunxia walked up to one section of wall. She stared at the neatly arranged handguns and spoke carefully. Are these guns all real? Of course they're real. And every single one is legally registered. He casually took a silver handgun down from the wall. Take this one for example, the Desert Eagle. The 3 roommates crowded over curiously. Li Xiu lowered her voice. ZG, can we touch one? You can, but only with proper guidance. He immediately called over a trainer. This is Instructor Li. He will guide you through handling the firearms safely. Instructor Li had a strong, chiseled face, dressed in combat fatigues, looking exactly like a special forces soldier from a movie. He gave a firm nod. Good day, ladies. Before handling any weapon, you must first learn the safety rules. He took the 4 girls over to the training area and began walking through the basic gun safety principles in detail. Shunxia listened with intense focus, even pulling out her phone to take notes. Only after the briefing did Instructor Li let them handle an actual firearm. The first one was a Glock 19. Shunxia carefully took the handgun, lighter than she expected, but with an incredibly solid feel. He asked from the side, "What do you think?" A little nervous but really excited. She answered honestly. Then she asked, "Can I really shoot during the stream later?" His lips curved. "Of course. We'll head to the dedicated range." Instructor Li then took them through the rest of the sections. Rifles including the AK series, M4 series, sniper section with the Barrett and Aum, even rocket launchers and heavy machine guns. But the thing that truly stunned the girls most was the armored vehicle bay. Over a dozen various armored vehicles, parked right in front of them, from light-wheeled vehicles to heavy assault types. Everything was there. Zhang Yu quietly asked, "Can these actually be driven?" He just smiled softly. "They can, but training and certification are required." Soon the tour ended. Shunxia glanced at her phone and froze. The pre-registration count had already broken 2 million and was still climbing wildly. She rushed to push things along. "We need to start getting ready for the stream." He nodded. "Let's go to the range." The day his little sister landed in Africa, she realized right away that her brother operated on a level that was hard to believe. Not only was his visa in the highest diplomatic tier, even the airlines had departed early specifically for their group. She had originally thought he was just a local mid-level manager. But when she saw the chat on his phone, she nearly dropped it. It was a fleet construction progress report. Before she could even react, dozens of fighter jets roared past overhead. He patted her gently on the head. "Since you're here, let me show you." He then led them out to an open-air shooting range. It was a professional-grade setup with lanes ranging from 25 to 300 meters. Dozens of staff members were already standing by and ready. Multi-angle cameras, professional microphones, even a drone circling overhead. Shunxia looked around in shock. This is way too professional. He was completely unfazed. "If we're going to stream, we do it right. Technical stuff is handled by a professional team." Shunxia took a deep breath, checked the time, and realized there were 15 minutes left. Let me go touch up my makeup real quick. But he had already thought of that too. Right next to the range was a temporary makeup station. Professional makeup artists and stylists were already standing by. They had even prepared sharp tactical outfits. Soon everything was ready. The clock hit 11:59. Shunxia stood in the center of the shooting range. In front of her was a long table loaded with firearms. Behind her were professional shooting lanes. Multiple cameras locked onto her. The drone was hovering and ready. Just then, the director's voice came through her earpiece. Miss Xiaxia, going live in 30 seconds. Stay relaxed. From his spot in the observation area nearby, he gave her a thumbs up. The final 10-second countdown began. Shunxia closed her eyes. Her heartbeat was getting faster and faster. But this wasn't nerves, it was excitement. The stream went live. Shunxia opened her eyes and looked straight at the main camera with a bright wide smile. Hey everyone, I'm Xiaxia. Welcome to my live stream from Africa. The moment she went live, the viewer count shot up like a rocket. 0 to 1 million in under 10 seconds. The chat exploded immediately. She's here. Xiaxia looks so cool today. That tactical outfit is amazing. So many guns. Are they real? Are the prizes real? Is the roles really going to someone? Shunxia adjusted her earpiece and flashed her signature sweet smile. I can tell you with complete confidence. Everything is real. Everything you see is genuine and valid. My brother made all of this happen, and it's all just to thank everyone for your support over the years. She turned sideways, the camera swinging to where he stood in the distance. The chat went absolutely insane. Big bro is so handsome. Now that's what a real CEO looks like. Big bro, do you need a little sister? Went to university, knows how to eat. So how do the prize money and cars get sent? Shunxia stepped back to the center of the camera. Everyone hold on. Let me break it down. First, we're sending out prize bundles for cash. 10,000 diamond bundles, 50 slots. Each winner gets 10,000 yuan in cash. The moment she finished saying that, the crew in the back had already launched the first prize bundle. The chat instantly went nuclear. I'm in. Please let me win. 10 grand is 3 months of living expenses for me. The streamer is too generous. The viewer count kept exploding. Already past 3 million and still growing at an unbelievable rate. Shunxia's name quickly climbed the trending charts. Hashtag Xiaxia giving away luxury cars in Africa. Hashtag 5 million cash giveaway. The topic spread like wildfire across every major social platform. While the bundle countdown ticked down, Shunxia moved on to the main event. She walked up to the long table of guns and started from the far left. First up, the handgun series. She picked up the Silver Desert Eagle. Most of you have probably seen this one in movies. The Desert Eagle. .50 caliber. Massive stopping power, but the recoil is brutal. Not for beginners. She set it back down and picked up the black handgun next to it. By comparison, the Glock 19 is much more manageable. 9mm, great stability. Then she turned the camera to Instructor Lee and said, "This is Instructor Lee, he's a master in firearms use and instruction. He'll be standing by as I personally try out the range and show everyone the real stopping power of these weapons." Instructor Lee then faced the camera and snapped into a perfect military posture before launching into a clear, professional safety briefing. His explanations were precise, backed up with hand demonstrations. Even viewers with zero gun knowledge could follow along. After the safety section wrapped up, the first prize bundle was about to draw winners. The viewer count had already passed 5 million. The servers were starting to lag a bit. They will verify your identity and then send the 10,000 yuan cash prize directly to you. The moment those words landed, the live viewer count hit another surge. Many people who had been just watching from the sidelines, seeing that real people were actually winning 10,000 yuan in cash, rushed in immediately to take part in the next draw. Alright, now let's get to the real highlight of today. Shunxia raised her voice by a few notches. I'm about to start shooting. First up, the Glock 19. Under Instructor Lee's supervision, Shunxia put on noise-canceling earmuffs and protective goggles and stepped up to the 25-meter lane. Following what she had learned that morning, she steadied her breathing, then gently pulled the trigger. A clean, sharp gunshot echoed across the range. Far away on the target, a hole appeared near the edge of the 10-ring zone. I hit it. Shunxia burst into excitement, spinning to face the camera. Her face was pure, uncontrollable joy. The chat went crazy. Nice shot. First try and she hit the 10-ring. Sure, it's just the edge, but that's still really impressive. Xiaxia's form looked so professional. Shunxia put the gun down, her face flushed with excitement. That was so good. Now I get why people love shooting. That feeling is seriously addictive. Just then, the countdown for the second prize bundle was almost done. This bundle carried bigger rewards. 5 slots, 50,000 yuan each. At this point, the live viewer count had already passed 7 million. The chat was moving so fast you could barely read it. All you could catch were flashing fragments of text. Countdown. Draw. 5 big winners appeared. This time the jackpot odds were smaller, but the prize amount was much larger. The energy in the stream hit another peak. Congratulations to these 5 lucky viewers. Please contact Xiaxia's prize assistant to claim your cash. After announcing that, Xia turned to the other 3 girls. My roommates also want to try. Should we give them a chance? The camera then panned to Ling Xiaoxiao, Zhang Yu, and Li Siyu. All 3 were a little nervous, but with Xia cheering them on, they mustered up the courage to step forward. First up was Ling Xiaoxiao. She chose a relatively mild Type 92 handgun. Under instructor Li's guidance, though her hands were a little shaky, she still managed to hit the target. I hit it. Ling Xiaoxiao set down the gun, hands still trembling slightly, but her face couldn't hide the thrill. Then Zhang Yu and Li Siyu took their turns. Both performed respectably. Neither as smooth as Xia, but both completed their shooting experience successfully. Time flowed by between shooting sessions and prize draws. When the 5th bundle, the 500,000 yuan grand prize, was about to go live, the stream's viewer count had broken 900,000 and was closing in on 1 million. Then Xia said to the camera, "This is the last big cash prize today. But don't be disappointed because next up we're giving away the cars." That announcement pushed the whole stream to its absolute peak. Countless people held their breath waiting for that moment. The day his little sister landed in Africa, she immediately realized her brother's reach was on another level entirely. Not only was his visa at the highest tier of diplomatic access, even the airline had departed ahead of schedule specifically for their group. She had originally thought he was just a mid-level local manager. But when she saw the chat on his phone, she nearly dropped it right there. What she found was a construction progress report for an interstellar fleet. Before she could even process it, dozens of fighter jets thundered past overhead. He patted her on the head with a smile. "Since you're here, let me show you what your brother really has." At this point, Xia's voice carried through the microphone across the entire stream. First up, 10 Porsche Panameras, each going out through 1 prize bundle. The first Panamera bundle starts now. The staff launched it instantly. This time the countdown was only 5 minutes. But the number of participants reached a staggering figure. The viewer count blasted past 10 million. The 5-minute countdown ended. The first Panamera winner was announced. "ID Windchaser," Xia announced loudly. "Congratulations, Windchaser. You are the winner of the very first Panamera." The chat instantly detonated. Some cheered, some were jealous, some doubted it was real. But very quickly, the prize assistant posted the official notice on the public screen with a detailed breakdown of the claim process and required documentation. It looked completely legitimate and professional. The remaining 9 Panameras were then given away through the same bundle system. Every time another winner was announced, the stream got a little more electric. As winner after winner emerged, more and more people started believing this wasn't a stunt. Because no actual stunt would involve this scale. This many prizes. Finally, Xia's voice came through one last time. "This is the last and most valuable prize of the day. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan. Same rules as before. 1 bundle. 1 slot. 5-minute countdown. Starting now." The entire stream, tens of millions of viewers, almost everyone joined this final bundle. The chat went quiet. Everyone was just watching the countdown bar with pure focus, silently praying. From the observation area, he watched the stream analytics through the monitoring screen and let out a satisfied smile. The effect of this stream had far exceeded expectations. Not only had his little sister's fanbase exploded, the name Huanyu Group had entered the public consciousness through this event. 5 minutes ticked by under enormous tension. When the timer hit 0 and the winner was drawn, the whole stream seemed to freeze for a moment. Then an ID appeared on screen. "Ordinary Dream. Congratulations to Ordinary Dream." Xia almost screamed it out. "You have won today's grand prize, the Rolls-Royce Cullinan." The chat went dead silent for a split second, then erupted like a volcano. "Congrats. I'm absorbing their luck. That username is so humble. Starting today, changing my name to Ordinary Dream. So is the prize actually going to be delivered? Will they really ship it?" Xia took a deep breath to steady herself. "I know many of you still have questions, especially the winners. So right now, I'm going to take everyone to see your prizes in person." The camera cut. Xia, with him leading the way, left the shooting range and headed to another section of the estate. It was a row of warehouse-style buildings guarded by several armed sentries at the entrance. He went through identity verification. The warehouse doors rolled open. The livestream camera pushed forward and the interior came into view for tens of millions of viewers. A fleet of Porsche Panameras in different colors lined up in perfect rows. Every one of them gleaming, sparkling brilliantly under the lights. Next to them were 3 BMW M5s, elegant lines and refined interiors that felt luxurious even through a screen. And the undeniable centerpiece was the Rolls-Royce Cullinan in the middle of the room. Its massive body, iconic spirit of ecstasy hood ornament, and handcrafted interior all shouted top-tier luxury, without saying a word. By now the chat had completely lost it. Oh my god, it's all real. How much is all of this worth? All different colors too, that's so thoughtful. So are they actually going to ship them? How? Shinxia stepped in front of the cars and faced the camera. Everyone can see it for themselves. All the prizes are here, ready to go. All the latest top-spec models. And now we're going to fly them home by cargo plane. The camera followed Shinxia as she moved to one of the estate's airstrips. Parked there was a large cargo transport jet. The Huanyu Group logo was printed on its fuselage. A clean globe graphic surrounded by stars. Shinxia pointed it out. This is my brother's company cargo plane. These cars are going to be loaded onto it and flown directly back home. Winners, here's what you need to do. Contact the prize assistant, provide your ID info and delivery address. Second, prepare your relevant documents. When the car arrives, someone will contact you to handle the handover. All costs including shipping, customs and registration fees are completely covered by us. You won't pay a single cent. That announcement caused another wave of shock. Many people had been worried about winning a luxury car but not being able to afford the taxes and fees. That concern was completely wiped out. Then, in front of the full rolling livestream, the crew began loading the cars onto the transport plane. Professional loading equipment. Experienced operators. The whole process moved with total efficiency. Once all 14 cars were secured, the transport plane's cargo doors began to. The pilots confirmed readiness over the radio, and under tower guidance, the aircraft slowly taxied to the runway. Shinxia told the camera, "This plane is flying direct to the mainland. Estimated flight time is around 10 hours. Once it lands, we'll arrange a professional logistics company to deliver each car based on the address each winner provided. So winners, you could have your gift in as little as 2 or 3 days." Just then, the cargo plane began accelerating down the runway. The roar of the engines, even through the screen, made you feel its raw power. It lifted off the ground, surging into the sky. After a wide banking circle, it flew off toward the northeast. That was the direction of home. Shinxia turned back to the camera. Her face was tired but lit up with excitement and a deep sense of accomplishment. That's it for today's stream. Once again, congratulations to all the winners. To those who didn't win, don't give up. Keep following my channel and there will be more surprise giveaways down the road. The stream ended to an outpouring of reluctance from the viewers. Final stats showed the stream ran for over 4 hours. Peak concurrent viewers hit 13 million. Total cumulative views exceeded 200 million, breaking multiple platform records. Most impressively, Shinxia's follower count went from 500,000 before the stream to 12 million. She became a top-tier platform streamer overnight. After the stream ended, Shinxia let out a long breath and nearly collapsed onto the floor. He walked over and handed her a bottle of water. Worn out. Huh? Shinxia took it and drank several large gulps. Then she said, "Bro, did we really just give away all those cars? That had to be tens of millions worth." He sat down beside her. "A few tens of millions. That's nothing. What matters is, through this, you became a multi-million follower streamer. Your happiness is what counts." Shinxia still couldn't fully believe it. But will those winners actually receive their cars? What about the paperwork? What about customs? What about the registration? All handled. You think I spent 2 years in Africa for nothing? The network I've built can handle this without breaking a sweat. In reality, the network he was referring to was the Cyborg Global Intelligence and Logistics System. Through this system, they could effortlessly process legitimate import and export paperwork for any item, handle customs and tax requirements across every country, and complete tasks that would seem completely impossible to anyone else. Those cars were, in fact, manufactured at the base. But every document, certificate, and piece of paperwork was identical to that of factory-produced vehicles, actually even more airtight than the real thing. Because cyborgs could create a complete and full history for each vehicle in databases across the globe, from the production line to the dealership, from import customs clearance to the paid tax certificate, everything was all there. As for the cargo plane, it really was flying to Allied territory. Once it landed, the cars would be distributed through special channels, ensuring the entire process was completely seamless. Shinxia suddenly said, "Thank you. Thank you for doing all this for me." He smiled. "You silly girl. You're my little sister. If not for you, then who? Alright, go get some rest. You've had a long day. More exciting things tomorrow." Shinxia nodded and stood up with the help of the staff. Her 3 roommates came over too. All 4 linked hands together. Hashtag Africa streamer gives away a Rolls. Hashtag 5 million cash giveaway. Hashtag what exactly is Huanyu Group? Countless viewers stayed up all night after watching the stream and still couldn't settle down. They were spreading the mind-blowing details everywhere across every platform. While he sat in the estate study, browsing the online buzz back home through an encrypted connection, and smiling quietly to himself. The day his little sister landed in Africa, she could immediately see that her brother operated on a level you wouldn't believe. Not only was his visa at the top of the diplomatic tier, even the airline had departed early specifically for their group. She originally thought he was just some minor local manager. But when she saw the chat on his phone, she nearly dropped it. What was on screen was a fleet construction progress report. She hadn't even had time to process when dozens of fighter jets came roaring past overhead. He patted him on the head with a smile. "Since you're here, let me show you what your brother really has." Just as dawn was breaking over Africa, Shun Xia was jolted awake by the sounds coming from the estate grounds. He walked to the window, pulled back the heavy curtains, and the sight instantly cleared the sleep from his eyes. The open land outside the estate was packed with armored vehicles, their desert camouflage paint gleaming with a cold, eerie light in the early morning. The heavy machine guns and anti-aircraft missile launchers on top stood in neat rows like a steel forest. And even more jaw-dropping was the sky, where 12 Apache attack helicopters were circling at low altitude. The rotor wash bent the grass flat below. And even further out, the outlines of transport helicopters were visible. Shun Xia muttered to himself, Are we going to war?" Just then, a knock came at the door. It was the head butler. "Miss, are you awake? Breakfast is ready. The commander says we depart in 1 hour." Shun Xia called back. "I'll be right down." She quickly freshened up and changed into something suited for outdoor activity. Multifunction tactical pants, a moisture-wicking t-shirt, a scratch-resistant jacket, a pair of professional jungle boots on her feet. By the time she came downstairs, her 3 roommates were already up, all of them in similar gear, their faces mixed with excitement and nerves. Ling Xiaoxiao was pointing out the window, her voice slightly trembling. "Xia, what are all those?" Shun Xia took a deep breath. "I saw them too. My brother said he's taking us on a safari today, but I didn't expect it to be on this scale." In the dining room, he was already seated at the head of the table. He was also in tactical gear, a subtle star emblem on his shoulder echoing the Huanyu Group insignia. He smiled as the 4 girls walked in. "Eat up first. We're going to be out in the field all day. Lunch might just be something simple." But at that moment none of the 4 girls had much of an appetite anyway. Their attention was completely pulled toward the scene outside. Shun Xia couldn't hold back. "Bro, those things out there," he answered casually. "Those are today's security escort. 3,000 men total. That includes a mechanized infantry battalion, an armored battalion, an aviation squadron, plus logistics and medical units." Zhang Yu's fork nearly fell from her hand. "Take 3,000 people? Just to go hunting?" He set down his coffee cup, voice completely even. "In Africa, safety always comes first. This grassland looks beautiful and peaceful, but in reality danger is everywhere. Not just wild animals but various armed groups, poachers, and even rebel forces. When you're all out there with me, absolute safety is non-negotiable." He then paused and added, "And honestly, I also want you and your fans to see what your brother's operation actually looks like out here." Shun Xia understood. This wasn't just a hunting trip. It was a show of force. He wanted to use this stream to show the entire world the military might of Huanyu Group. After breakfast, everyone headed to the staging area outside the estate. It was already a sea of steel. Hundreds of armored vehicles in neat formation. Soldiers conducting final checks. 3,000 fully armed cyborg troops. Every single one of them standing like a carved statue, sharp-eyed and radiating lethal intent. Shun Xia started her stream. The moment she went live, over 1 million people flooded in. Many had set stream notifications just to watch this. "Hey everyone, I'm Xia. Today I'm taking you to the African savannah for a hunt." She pointed the camera at the military force ahead. "These are my brother's security escorts." Before she even finished, the chat had already gone off. "Holy moly, that's a military army right there. Armored vehicles. Attack helicopters. Yesterday's stream was already shocking enough. Today's just hit different. How many people is that?" "At least 1,000 I'd say." 1,000? I'm counting at least 2 or 3,000. Are those Apaches? How did your country's equipment end up out here?" He stepped in front of the camera, effortlessly composed and smiling. "Hey everyone, today I'm taking my little sister and her friends to the savannah for a little hunting experience. These are our group security forces, keeping us safe out there." The moment those words left his mouth, the sky thundered with rotor blades. All 12 Apache attack helicopters dropped in altitude and circled low over the convoy. Each one was loaded with Hellfire missiles and rocket pods. The 30mm nose cannon gleamed cold in the morning light. On the ground, the armored force began to move as well. Leading the column were rows of heavy armored vehicles, roof-mounted with large-caliber machine guns and automatic grenade launchers. Behind them came dozens of wheeled infantry fighting vehicles. And further back were the transport trucks and logistics vehicles. The convoy stretched for several kilometers. The scale was breathtaking. Then, on a sudden impulse, he walked to the front of the formation and raised his voice. "Soldiers!" 3,000 soldiers snapped to attention simultaneously, the sound cracking as one. Then 3,000 voices fused into one single thundering call. "Good day, Commander!" The sound shook the savannah. Shenxia's phone literally vibrated in her hands. He called out, "At ease, soldiers!" 3,000 soldiers roared back in 3 waves, each louder than the last. "For the Commander! For the Commander! For the Commander!" The battle spirit and loyalty packed into those voices sent a chill through the tens of millions watching the stream. The chat went blank for a moment. Then it blew up. Holy! That energy! This is clearly a private army. For one man, that force is terrifying. Could probably roll through several small countries. Xinxia was shaken by the scene too. She knew her brother had power in Africa, but she had no idea it was this large, this overwhelming. 3,000 elite soldiers, hundreds of armored vehicles, attack helicopters. This was well beyond the scope of any security company. She whispered, "Bro, these soldiers." He patted his little sister's shoulder. "They're my most loyal troops. With them here, you can walk anywhere in Africa with your head high." He turned to face the formation and gave the command. "Move out." The order was relayed down through the ranks. The convoy began to roll. He brought the 4 girls aboard a Mi-17 transport helicopter. It had been customized at the base. The interior was lavishly done up, comfortable seating, a small bar, and a private restroom. Once the helicopter was airborne, all 12 Apaches immediately split into 4 groups of 3. One group on each side of the transport, forming a protective diamond. On the ground, the armored column moved like a rolling steel wall across the savannah. The live stream, capturing everything from multiple angles aboard the helicopter, looked down from the sky at hundreds of armored vehicles, charging forward and kicking up massive clouds of dust, giving viewers a view of truly breathtaking scale. Attack helicopters flanked them on all sides, missiles and cannons clearly visible. Xinxia spoke to the camera, voice faintly trembling. "Friends, I genuinely don't know what to say right now. This doesn't feel like a hunting trip. It feels like a military exercise." The comments just poured in from everywhere. "This isn't a safari, this is an armed parade. Pure muscle flexing." The helicopter flew for about 40 minutes and arrived over a wide open savannah. Flat terrain. Great visibility. In the distance, herds of buffalo, zebra, and antelope were grazing. Even further out, a few lions were resting in the shade. He gave the order through his radio. "Land here." The day his little sister first set foot in Africa, she was immediately struck by just how far her brother's connections went. Not only was his visa in the top tier of diplomatic access, even the airline had departed early specifically for their group. She had originally thought he was just some local mid-level manager. But when she saw the chat on his phone, she nearly dropped it right there. On screen was a fleet construction progress report. She hadn't even had time to process when dozens of fighter jets came screaming overhead. He stroked her hair gently. "Since you're here, let me show you what your brother really has." The transport helicopter descended slowly. The rotor wash from the blades pressed the surrounding grass flat to the ground. The armored vehicles on the outside moved into a perimeter formation. Soldiers dismounted quickly and set up a temporary defensive position. The whole process was fast and professional. In under 15 minutes, a makeshift field camp was fully assembled. Xinxia and the others stepped down from the helicopter and were hit by the sight once again. In the center of the camp, several large tents had been erected, including a command tent. The perimeter was ringed by armored vehicles. Soldiers were positioned at every angle. Snipers held the high ground. And what was even more striking was the immediate effect on the surrounding nature. Because of the arrival of the force, every animal that had been living here had panicked and fled. Xinxia swept the camera across the area. Stream viewers caught sight of the stampeding animals and the chat flooded instantly. "A lion! I see a lion! Those buffalo are running so fast. Even the elephants are fleeing." He then signaled the crew and they began preparing lunch. A few mobile field kitchen vehicles deployed. The chefs got to work. Soon the rich aroma of grilled meat drifted through the air. He said, "Let's eat first, rest a bit. Hunting starts this afternoon." Over the meal, Xinxia asked, "What are we hunting this afternoon?" He smiled mysteriously. "You'll see." After eating, the soldiers began preparing the hunting gear. A few powerful-looking sniper rifles were brought out and placed on dedicated stands. Xinxia walked over for a closer look. She recognized one of them immediately. "That's the TAC-50, the Canadian one." He glanced over. "Good eye. 12.7 mm. Effective range of 2,000 meters. It once held the record for the longest confirmed sniper shot. and I want you to experience firsthand what it feels like to have absolutely overwhelming power. Gear prepared and ready. He picked up a TAC-50 and walked to the edge of the camp. Soldiers had already used laser rangefinders and spotting scopes to lock onto a target in the distance. Xinxia aimed the camera at him. Stream viewers all held their breath, watching what this mysterious African big shot was about to do. He set up the sniper rifle, adjusted the scope, laid his finger gently on the trigger, held his breath. The camera tracked in the direction of the barrel, and viewers saw the target. A male lion, mane thick and full, lying stretched out on a boulder basking in the sun, completely unaware that the shadow of death had already fallen over it. Xinxia whispered in shock, "That's a lion." Ling Xiaoxiao also caught on. "Aren't lions protected animals?" But he had already squeezed the trigger. The massive shot rang out across the savannah. The 12.7mm round traveled at 800 meters per second. It left the barrel and cut an invisible path through the air. A moment later, the lion in the distance jerked violently, then sank slowly to the ground. The bullet had struck directly in the head. An instant kill. The entire pride was sent into a panic. Several cubs scattered in terror, letting out frightened growls. They vanished into the distant savannah within moments. All 4 girls stood with their mouths open. The stream chat also erupted. Brief silence, then an explosion of debate. She shot a lion? That's a protected species, that's illegal. In some parts of Africa, trophy hunting is allowed. But does she have a permit? With the setup she has, does a permit even matter? That was cruel. Why kill a lion? Oh, here come the saints in the comments again. This is Africa. Xinxia finally snapped out of it. She ran to his side, voice rattled. Bro, that was a lion. Protected animal. Is there going to be a problem? He set down the rifle and turned to look at his little sister, wearing a light, casual smile. Problem? What problem? He pointed at the surrounding troops. If anyone has a problem, tell them to come and say it to these guys. Whether it's the local government and international animal protection organization, whoever has a problem can come talk to them. Said with zero drama. But the sheer dominance packed into those words made everyone's heart tighten. He continued speaking to his little sister. You try it too. Remember, on this savannah, any living thing that isn't on our side can be a target. Any living thing that isn't on our side. Xinxia repeated those words and suddenly thought of something. She pointed toward some local villagers in the distance. Do they count as living things too? Xinxia asked that sharp question. He glanced at the villagers, expression cold. Primitive locals, in my eyes, don't count as people. That came through the stream and instantly ignited a firestorm. Did he just say that? Primitive locals don't count as people? Well, in some places in Africa it's true that life is cheap. But saying they don't count as people is too far. But he's telling the truth. In places like that, human lives really aren't worth much. Is this the mindset of the strong? Xinxia's brother is a little scary, to be honest. He followed up on camera. What I mean is, in this world of survival of the fittest, a being without power has no right to be treated as a person. They simply exist. He then looked at his little sister with complete seriousness. Xinxia, you need to understand something. In this place, I am the rules. What I say can be killed, can be killed. Who I say can live, live. That is the privilege that power gives you. Xinxia looked at him, and suddenly felt a strange distance. Was this person still the same brother who had looked after her since childhood? The one who protected her? Who bought her soup when she was sick? Was this still the brother who had sat by her bed all night when she was ill? Had he changed? Or was he always this way, just never had the chance to show it? Xinxia didn't know what to say. He ruffled her hair, his voice softening. Sorry, I scared you all. Your brother shouldn't have said those things to you. But since you're here in Africa now, there are things you need to know. He gestured toward the savannah around them. Look at this place. Is it beautiful? Is it magnificent? But beneath all that beauty and grandeur is brutal competition to survive. Lions eat antelopes. Wild dogs steal from lions. Humans hunt animals and hunt each other. That's the world. And I chose to be the hunter, not the hunted. I chose to make the rules, not follow them. I chose to protect those I want to protect and eliminate the threats against me. He picked up another TAC-50 and handed it to Xinxia. Try it. Aim at that herd of buffalo, the biggest one out front. Xinxia hesitated but took the rifle. It was heavy, at least 20 pounds. Under Instructor Li's guidance, she got into the prone position, set up the rifle, and looked through the scope toward the herd. Then Xinxia took a deep breath, aimed for the buffalo's heart. Her hands were shaking. Her pulse was pounding. Fire. His voice came from behind her. Xinxia closed her eyes and squeezed the trigger. The massive recoil slammed into her shoulder hard enough to make her almost cry out. But when she opened her eyes and looked through the scope, what she saw left her stunned. The huge buffalo staggered a few times and crashed to the ground. I hit it. Xinxia couldn't believe it. Good shot. He confirmed. It was a little off-center. Hit the gut rather than the heart. But still enough to be fatal. At that point, the stream had completely detonated. Chat, gifs, comments. Everything was going insane at once. The viewer count broke 50 million. A platform all-time record. Over the next few hours, he took the 4 girls through various hunting experiences. As the hunt continued, piles of game built up around camp. Soldiers began processing the animals. Some would become tonight's dinner. Some were brought back to the base. As the sun moved west, he called a halt to the hunt. Everyone gathered around the campfire, grilling the meat from the day's catch. Shinxia opened the stream and shared the day's experience with her fans. Her face held excitement, exhaustion, but above all, a complicated kind of emotion. She said to the camera, "Today was very different. I saw the most real side of Africa, and the most real side of my brother. Honestly, I was scared. But more than scared, I was blown away." She then looked over at him. Shinxia suddenly asked, "Bro, are you happy?" The day his little sister landed in Africa, she immediately knew her brother operated on a level that was hard to believe. Not only was his visa in the highest diplomatic tier, even the airline had departed ahead of time specifically for their group. She had originally thought he was here just as some minor local manager. But when she saw the chat on his phone, she nearly dropped it. On screen was a fleet construction progress report. Before she could even react, dozens of fighter jets roared overhead. He patted her on the head. "Since you're here, let me show you what your brother is really made of." He paused for a moment, then smiled quietly. 2 years ago, when I first came to Africa, every day was a fight to survive. Back then, of course I wasn't happy. But now, he looked out over the savannah, then at his own army. Now I have the power to protect myself and the people I love. I can give my family a good life. I can do what I want to do. Does that count as happiness? He didn't answer directly, but the answer was obvious. At dinner, he cut a piece of the freshly grilled meat and passed it to his little sister. "Taste this. That's the lion from earlier. In Africa, eating what you've killed is the highest form of respect you can pay to your prey." Shinxia hesitated for a moment, then took it and bit into a small piece. The texture was a little tough. The flavor was unusual, carrying a kind of wild rawness. He asked, "What do you think?" Shinxia was honest. "It's a bit strange. Not bad though." He smiled. "You'll get used to it. In this world, a lot of things are like that. Feels strange at first, but once you're used to it, it's fine." After dinner, he settled everyone in to rest. The soldiers had set up dedicated rest tents, fully equipped inside, even with simple shower facilities. Shinxia lay in her cot but couldn't fall asleep. Today's experience kept playing back in her mind like a film. The 3,000-person army, attack helicopters, sniping a lion, the things her brother had said. Over the following days, Shinxia's mood was clearly off. She would sit on the estate balcony staring out at the distant savannah for hours. At meals, she was constantly distracted. Sometimes she would suddenly set down her chopsticks and stare blankly in a certain direction. At night, the estate staff mentioned that several times they heard sounds coming from her room, as if she had woken up in the middle of the night and couldn't sleep again. He saw all of it. He understood. Everything that happened out on the savannah that day. That raw, naked display of power. That attitude toward life as if it barely mattered. Those declarations of "I am the rules." All of it, for a 19-year-old ordinary girl, was just too much to process at once. But he didn't go comfort her. Didn't try to explain anything. Some things had to be worked through alone. Understood on your own terms. Just like a fledgling eagle that has to learn to fly by being pushed from the nest. Or a warrior who has to learn real strength by facing something bloody. He only made sure that when Shinxia was lost in thought, someone would quietly bring her a warm cup of tea. When she had no appetite, the kitchen would prepare some food from back home. When she couldn't sleep at night, the staff would light calming aromatherapy in her room. Beyond that, he gave his little sister all the space and time she needed. This quiet, unspoken kind of care, Shinxia felt it. She knew he was watching over her. She knew he hadn't grown impatient or disappointed. Just knowing that was itself a comfort. On the morning of the 4th day, Shinxia rose early as usual and headed toward the dining room. When she reached the doorway, she stopped. Inside the dining room, he was personally setting the table, his movements a little clumsy but very earnest. That scene brought Shinxia right back to childhood. Every morning, he would do exactly this. Clumsy but so earnest, setting out breakfast. Even if the porridge was always too watery and the eggs always burned. Once, because he made something so inedible, she had actually thrown a tantrum and smashed a bowl. But he didn't get angry. He just quietly cleaned up the pieces, then made another bowl. That evening, she noticed his hand had a few small cuts from picking up the broken pieces. Shinxia called out softly, "Bro." He looked up and saw his little sister. He gave her a warm smile. "You're up. Come eat." I had the kitchen make soy milk and fried dough sticks especially for you. Xinxia walked into the dining room and sat across from him. The soy milk was warm. The fried dough sticks were freshly made, fragrant and crisp. She bit into one. Crispy on the outside, soft inside. Exactly the taste she remembered. He asked. Good? Xinxia nodded, eyes a little wet. Tastes just as good as when you used to make them at home. He laughed softly. Those ones back then were way worse. I used to burn them all the time. Xinxia smiled and said, but I loved them because they were made by my big brother. After finishing breakfast quietly, Xinxia suddenly said, Bro, I want to go back to the savannah. He looked at her. Figured it all out? Xinxia answered honestly. Not completely. But I think I kind of understand now. This world is like that. There's beauty, and there's cruelty. There are rules, and there are people who break them. You chose to become someone who makes the rules. That's your choice. And me, I still haven't decided what kind of person I want to be. She paused, then continued. But I'm not going to be afraid anymore. Because you're my brother. Whether you're an ordinary person or the king of Africa, you're still the brother who cooks me breakfast. Who protects me. Who loves me. His eyes felt warm. He reached out and ruffled her hair. Knowing you feel that way, that's all I need. But bro, Xinxia's expression suddenly went serious. Can you promise me one thing? Go ahead. No matter how much power you have. No matter how strong your rules become. Don't become a bad person. Xinxia looked at him with absolute sincerity. Don't bully the weak. Don't kill the innocent. Don't forget who you are. He was silent, looking into his little sister's clear eyes, seeing the pure expectation and trust inside them. In that moment, he realized that everything he had built was not only to protect his family. It was also to not betray that trust. He said honestly, I promise you, I will use this power to do what needs to be done. Protect those who need protection. I won't become a monster. Xinxia smiled, a smile as radiant as sunshine. Good. I believe you. From that day on, Xinxia was fully back to herself. She reopened her live stream, showing fans the beauty of Africa, sharing local culture, giving people a peek at life in the estate. Only she never brought up the weapons again, and never showed the army again. But the online discussion never stopped. Speculation about him and Huanyu Group only grew louder. Analysis posts multiplied endlessly. People dug up his background back home. Ordinary family. Ordinary university. Suddenly went to Africa 2 years ago and rose fast. This rags to riches story arc made his story even more legendary. He saw all of it and didn't care even a little, because there were more important things to deal with. That afternoon, he was in his study reviewing the progress reports for the mini-planet engineering project. When his phone rang, it was a WeChat video call. The caller was his younger brother. Shinemo. The day his little sister landed in Africa, she immediately saw that her brother's reach was on another level. Not only was his visa at the top of the diplomatic tier, even the airline had departed ahead of time specifically for their group. He originally thought his big brother was just some local mid-level manager. But when he saw the chat on his phone, he nearly dropped it right there. On screen was a fleet construction progress report. Before he could even react, dozens of fighter jets roared past overhead. He patted him on the head. Since you're here, let me show you what your brother really looks like. He picked up the video call. On screen appeared Shin Mo's grinning face. Shin Mo opened with over-the-top flattery the moment the call connected. You're unbelievable right now. The whole internet back home is talking about you and Xiaxia. My classmates and friends all keep asking me if that big shot in Africa is my brother. I'm practically famous at school now. He burst out laughing at his younger brother's drama. Cut it out. I've sent out dozens of job applications. Done over 10 interviews. Either the pay is too low or the requirements are too high. The big companies all want 985 or 211 graduates, or at least a master's degree. He understood his younger brother's frustration. When he graduated, he had gone through the exact same thing. Sending applications until he was desperate. Interviewing until he felt numb. If he hadn't gotten the system by accident, he'd probably be grinding away at some small company right now, stressing over rent and credit card bills every month. Then he said to him, if you can't find something that fits, then stop looking. Shinemo blinked. Stop looking? Then what am I supposed to do? Just sit at home and rot? He smiled and said, what I mean is, you can do whatever you actually want to do. Money isn't a problem. Resources aren't a problem. As long as you have an idea and the drive, I'll back you up. Shinemo was floored by that. He opened his mouth, couldn't get a word out for a long moment. Then he asked, what do you mean? No ideas? Shinemo shook his head. Not that. It's just, you know what I'm like. No big ambitions. Not especially talented. Just decent at gaming, nothing else. If you tell me to do something on my own, I'm probably gonna mess everything up. He said. Mess it up, then learn from fail, then start over. Nobody's born knowing how to do things. And besides, with me covering your back, what are you afraid of? Shinemo looked at him through the video call and suddenly realized he really had changed. Then he quietly said, have you been through a lot out there in Africa? He didn't answer directly. He just said, everyone goes through things. And it's how you come out of them that makes you grow. It's time for you to grow up too. Shinemo groaned. But I can't even think of what I want to do. What I should be doing, he said patiently. Then take your time figuring it out. No rush. You can travel around, see the world first. Once you find something you genuinely love, then decide. Shinemo was a little embarrassed. But how much money would that even take? He smiled lightly. Money is the last thing you should worry about. I'll transfer you a sum in a bit. Enough to last you a while. When it runs out, let me know. Shinmo's voice went a little soft. You're too good to me. I feel bad. Don't say silly things. You're my little brother. If not you, then who? Shinemo asked. So what should I actually do then? I can't just rely on you forever. Or just sit around waiting to die. That'd be so meaningless. He smiled. Then you can help me. Shinemo lit up immediately. Help you? Help you how? He said. Huanyu Group needs development back home too. I can hand off the domestic operations to you. You'll learn as you go, and you'll have something to keep you busy. Shinmo's eyes went wide. Really? Can I actually handle it? Why wouldn't you be able to? You learn what you don't know. Ask when you don't understand. I'll have people there to support you. But the decisions are yours to make. It doesn't matter if you do well or not. What matters is the process. Shinemo said excitedly. Then I'll give it a shot. No rush, go enjoy yourself for a while first. Think it through properly and then we'll talk. By the way, how are Mom and Dad doing? Have they seen anything online? Shinemo said. Mom's been on edge constantly. Scared something's going to happen to you in Africa. Dad, even though he doesn't say, I know he's worried too. You should give them a call yourself and say something. He nodded. I will. Help me tell Mom and Dad not to worry. I'll go back to see them soon. The two of them chatted for a while longer about family. And finally Shinemo reluctantly ended the call. After the call ended, he immediately arranged to transfer money to Shinmo's bank card. A few minutes later, Shinemo sent a message. Just 2 words. Holy crap. Then another one. How much did you send? I counted the zeros forever. Is that 10 million? And he replied with just 1 line. Spend it, then come back for more. He put down his phone, the corners of his mouth carrying a quiet smile. His little brother was still the same little brother, carefree but genuinely lovable. Then he opened his laptop and pulled up the asteroid engineering progress report. Construction on 12 interstellar warships was proceeding in an orderly fashion. The main structures were expected to be complete within 3 months. Training for the million-strong space army was advancing in parallel. These forces were not for conquest, not for war. They were simply to have the right to say no. He calmly closed the laptop and walked out of the study. On the other side, Shunxia sat on a comfortable sofa, phone propped on the coffee table in front of her. Midstream. The live viewer count showed 128,000. The chat was flying. Xia, when are you coming home? I want to come greet you at the airport. I want to see Big Bro. Can you get Big Bro to say hi? She saw the comments and looked over at where he was sitting nearby. Fans want to see you. He was reviewing documents on his tablet, but calmly looked up, smiled at the camera. Hey everyone. 3 simple words, but the stream instantly erupted. Hey Big Bro. He's so handsome. Does Big Bro need a little sister? University educated, knows how to eat. Bro, don't be so strict about gender. A little brother works too. He cracked up at those comments. He set down the tablet and moved to sit beside his sister. You people online really do know how to talk. He set down the tablet and came to sit next to his little sister. When the chat realized he had joined, it got even louder. Questions poured in non-stop. People asking about life in Africa, about Huanyu Group's operations, about the weapons and troops from before. He answered some selectively, tone casual and relaxed, like chatting with old friends. Then footsteps came from the staircase. Li Xiu came down from the 2nd floor. She looked a little off, hovering at the edge of the living room, starting to say something a few times, then swallowing it back down. Xia noticed. Xiu, what's going on? Is something wrong? Li Xiu hesitated, then shook her head. Nothing. Xia waved her over. Come on, just say it. We're all family here, no need to be polite. Li Xiu finally slowly walked over and sat down on the sofa. Her eyes were slightly red, as if she had been crying. Xia asked with concern. What really happened? Li Xiu's voice was small, carrying a faint tremor. Just now, my parents called. My cousin. Something happened to her. Your cousin? Isn't she in university? Xia remembered Li Xiu had mentioned her cousin was a junior student doing well academically. Li Xiu's voice dropped even lower. She was on her third-year summer break now. She and a few classmates said they were going to find summer jobs. But it turned out, she got scammed and trafficked to northern Myanmar. Xia went cold immediately. Northern Myanmar. That's where the telecom scam operations are. The day his little sister first landed in Africa, she immediately saw that her brother's reach was something else entirely. Not only was his visa in the top tier of diplomatic access, even the airline had departed early specifically for their group. She had originally thought he was just some minor local manager. But when she saw the chat on his phone, she nearly dropped. What was on screen was a fleet construction progress report. Before she could react, dozens of fighter jets roared past overhead. He patted her on the head. "Since you're here, let me show you what your brother is really capable of." Li Xiu nodded and the tears started falling. Her family got a message today saying her cousin is in their hands. They're demanding 500,000 in ransom. And if it's not paid, then... She couldn't continue. She broke down crying. The stream chat instantly exploded. "Holy, Northern Myanmar scam compound. That's terrible. Such a pretty girl ending up in a place like that. Don't pay the ransom. Even if you pay, they might not release her, and then they'll just keep extorting you." Xia reached over to comfort Li Xiu. "Sai, you don't cry. We'll figure something out." She also looked over at him. His expression had already gone serious. He then asked Li Xiu to continue. Li Xiu took a shaky breath and pulled out her phone, scrolling to a photo. It was a girl with a bright, radiant smile. Long hair, delicate features, looking sunny and full of life. The background was a university campus. She was wearing a graduation gown, probably taken at some event. Li Xiu handed the phone to Xia. "This is my cousin, Lin Xiaoyu. She was a great student. Was planning to take the grad school exam. How could this happen to her?" Xia took the phone. He leaned over for a quick look. Then he asked, "Has your aunt's family reported it to the police?" Li Xiu wiped her tears. "They did, but the police said it's a cross-border case. Very complicated. It will take time. And even if action is taken, it has to go through diplomatic channels with multiple layers of approvals. Who knows how long that will take. My aunt is already going out of her mind." The chat in the stream started weighing in. With something like this, the police really can't do much. Northern Myanmar is a lawless zone. Even if the police go in, they can't do anything. The only option might be to pay the ransom. And even then, they might not let her go. They could just keep extorting. Such a pretty girl. In a place like that, I don't even want to think about it. Li Xiu saw the comments and fresh tears poured out. "My parents told me to stay safe here in Africa, and said there's nothing they can do about my cousin's side. But that's my cousin," she said, and her eyes drifted involuntarily toward him, then quickly looked away. The way she hesitated, anyone could read it. She wanted to ask for help, but couldn't bring herself to. Xia could see it too. She turned and asked him quietly, "Is there anything you can do?" The viewers in the stream held their breath, waiting for his answer. He went quiet for a few seconds, then said, "Northern Myanmar is genuinely complicated." Li Xiu's eyes dimmed instantly, but the words he said next reignited her hope. Still, pulling one person out of there isn't exactly a hard thing to do. That landed and the stream went nuclear. "He's got this. I knew he had a way. But wait, his operation is in Africa. Northern Myanmar is halfway around the world. Comments don't understand. Real power is global. He's bluffing. Northern Myanmar is something even governments struggle with. A private person having a way in? Come on. Yeah, even if he's big in Africa, Northern Myanmar is different." Just then, an incoming call request appeared on screen. The requester's ID was Northern Myanmar. The profile picture was a young man in sunglasses with a smug expression. Xia was momentarily confused. She looked over at him. He nodded. "Accept it." On screen was a man around 30, wearing a floral shirt, thick gold chain around his neck. The background was a room decorated in gaudy fashion. On the wall hung a cheap-looking landscape painting. The voice from the other side rang out. Hello, Miss Shin. Big bro Shin. Long-time fan. Finally managed to connect today." He frowned slightly. "Who are you?" "Me? Northern Myanmar." He slapped his chest with a cocky grin. "I make my living out here in Northern Myanmar. Got a bit of a reputation. Just caught your stream. Heard you're talking about pulling someone out," you said flatly. "And?" He Xiaoba laughed, laughter dripping with obvious mockery. "I'll admit you're impressive in Africa. Those armored vehicles and helicopters, I saw them. Genuinely intimidating. But," he paused, then raised his voice. "This is Northern Myanmar. Not Africa. Around here, a dragon has to coil. A tiger has to crouch. Even the Monkey King himself would have to follow the rules here." He didn't get angry at all. He actually smiled. "So you know Northern Myanmar well?" Xiaoba got even more self-satisfied. You bet. I've been grinding it out here 5 years. Seen every kind of thing. That girl you mentioned, Lin Xiaoyu, right? Let me tell you, people who end up in northern Myanmar rarely come out in one piece. Especially a young pretty girl like her. Who knows, maybe she's already been. Li Xiu screamed, tears streaming down her face. His expression instantly went cold. He turned to Shin Weidong standing nearby. Weidong, pull up everything on this person. Shin Weidong immediately grabbed a tablet, fingers flying. Xiaoba saw that and laughed even harder. Look me up? Ha! I don't hide who I am. Xiaoba, I've got guns and firepower. Can your armored vehicles and helicopters even reach here? He didn't respond to the provocation at all. He just waited quietly. 1 minute later, Shin Weidong handed over the tablet showing detailed information. He took it, scanned through it, and then read out to the camera. Xiaoba, known alias, 32 years old. Born in Yeyang, Hunan Province. Crossed into northern Myanmar illegally in 2018. Joined an electronic fraud syndicate under the Wa State United Army. Primary role was using live streams and social media to lure young people from the mainland to northern Myanmar. To date, has successfully trafficked in 138 people. Among them 92 male, 46 female. Males were mostly forced to engage in telecom fraud. As for the females, he paused for a moment, eyes ice cold. 23 were sold to entertainment establishments. 18 were coerced into participating in fraud. 5 are confirmed dead. The stream chat exploded instantly. Holy hell, 138 people. 23 women sold to places like that. And 5 of them dead. This piece of trash should be in hell. Xiaoba's face went pale white, but he tried to bluff his way out. You're making things up. None of this is real. I'm just an ordinary streamer. Is that so? He kept reading. Your domestic bank accounts. Over the past 3 years, received a total of 12 million yuan from accounts in northern Myanmar. You also own 2 apartments in Changsha and a Porsche Cayenne. All bought with this money. He looked up at the panicking Xiaoba on screen. Want me to read out your bank transaction history and property documents too? Xiaoba completely panicked. But he quickly pulled himself together and sneered viciously. Even if all of that is true, what can you do about it? I'm in northern Myanmar. This is a no-man's land. Even the mainland police can't touch me. And you, sitting in Africa, what are you going to do? He got more and more arrogant as he spoke. Let me tell you, I've got people in northern Myanmar and people back home too. If you dare make a move against me, watch out for your family. Especially that pretty little sister of yours. He cut him off. His voice calm. Very good. His eyes held no anger, no outrage. Just a cold that chilled you to the bone. He slowly stood and walked toward the camera. You're right. Northern Myanmar is a complicated place. But complicated doesn't mean there's no way in. He turned and said to Shin Weidong. Weidong, get it arranged. Shin Weidong snapped to attention. Commander. He looked back at the camera. At Xiaoba, who was already starting to break into a sweat. You said I can't do anything about you, right? Then let's just see whether or not I can. He paused, then said one word at a time. I have 2 things in life I hate most. First, threatening my family. Second, hurting innocent people. And you've done both. Xiaoba tried to grin it off. So what are you going to do? Send a plane? Don't make me laugh. From Africa to northern Myanmar is thousands of kilometers. Can those planes of yours even make it? And even if they could, northern Myanmar's airspace isn't somewhere you just fly into whenever you want. He raised an eyebrow. Then let's make a bet. Whether you're still this cocky 24 hours from now. Xiaoba stretched his neck out. Fine, I'll bet. I'm not scared of you. Xiaomei's first day landing in Africa. She already sensed something was off about you. Not only was your visa at the top diplomatic level, but the airline had even arranged an early departure specifically for you. She originally assumed you were just some small-time local boss. But when she saw the chat logs on your phone, she nearly dropped it on the spot. It turned out to be a construction progress report for a brand new naval fleet. Before she could even process that, dozens of fighter jets roared right over their heads. You gently patted her head and said, since you're already here, let me show you what your brother really owns. You turned away from her and told Li Xiu, send me your cousin's information. Li Xiu handed over her phone, which had Lin Xiaoyu's photo on it, along with her identity, contact details, and other information. You forwarded everything to Shin Weidong and said, this girl, I want her found, dead or alive. If she's still breathing, bring her back without a scratch. You didn't finish the sentence, but everyone already understood what you meant. You looked at Xiaoba on the screen. As for this person, if she's alive, I want to meet her myself. Shin Weidong saluted and quickly left. Xiaoba listened to the exchange, a chill creeping into her gut. She still didn't believe you could actually reach all the way out here. She laughed it off and thought, you're putting on a real show. I'll just sit here and wait to see what you're capable of. You looked at her and suddenly smiled. A warm, easy smile. I'm very much looking forward to meeting you, you said. Then you signaled Xinxia to cut the connection. Xinxia ended the call with Xiaoba, and the screen returned to normal. But the atmosphere in the livestream had completely changed. The comments went wild. Is bro actually serious? Sending people from Africa all the way to northern Myanmar, is that even possible? If it's real, that's insane. But northern Myanmar is a complicated place with armed factions everywhere. He's not seriously thinking of using a private army, is he? That would literally be an international incident. You didn't explain anything. You just told Xinxia, let's wrap it up for today. Xinxia nodded and said to the camera, that's all for now, everyone. I'll keep you updated when there's news. He ended the stream. The living room suddenly went quiet. All you could hear was Li Siyu's soft sobbing. Xinxia walked over and put an arm around her shoulder. Don't worry. If my brother said he can handle it, then he'll handle it. Li Siyu looked up, eyes swollen and red. But northern Myanmar is so far away, and it's so dangerous. Xinxia said firmly, trust my brother. Just then, your phone rang. It was Shin Weidong calling. Commander, everything is arranged. Special Forces 108 men, led by the Lying Squad. They're carrying a full loadout, boarding 2 transport aircraft. They're ready for takeoff. Estimated arrival over northern Myanmar in 6 hours. The transports will drop the squad over the mountain regions. The Special Forces will parachute in, then fall back for extraction. Fighter jets will handle air cover. Bombers will be on standby. If fire support is needed, precision-guided munitions can be deployed at any time. Shun Weidong continued his report. We've already used satellites to lock onto Xiaoba's location and we're monitoring in real time. We've also pulled surveillance footage from the last known location of Lin Xiaoyu. Based on data analysis, there's an 87% probability she's being held in a telecom fraud compound near the Hua state border. You gave the order, find him and get him out. As for that compound, level it. Understood. Shun Weidong saluted. Then you said, one more thing, this operation may attract international attention. You said calmly, then let them pay attention. It's a good opportunity to let certain people know the reach of the Huanyu group isn't limited to Africa. You ended the call and looked at Li Siyu. 6 hours from now, Special Forces will be in northern Myanmar. Within 24 hours at most, there will be news. Li Siyu stared blankly for a long moment, unable to speak. She knew you were powerful, but she hadn't imagined just how powerful. One sentence from you, and a Special Forces unit would cross thousands of kilometers to rescue someone. This was beyond what money or influence alone could explain. Li Siyu's voice trembled. Shinji, thank you. Really, thank you so much. You said with a smile, no need. You're my sister's friend, which makes you my little sister too. And of course a brother has to step up when his sister needs help. Xinxia heard your word and felt a complicated mix of emotions rise inside him. He was glad that there was a chance his cousin would be saved. But he also felt uneasy about the overwhelming, almost terrifying power you had just put on display. Xinxia said quietly, doing all this, won't there be consequences? Consequences? You chuckled. But then you cut him off. Xia, you need to understand, in this world, some problems cannot be solved through law or diplomacy. The telecom fraud situation in northern Myanmar has existed for years. How many families have been torn apart? How many lives ruined? If conventional methods could fix it, it would have been fixed a long time ago. You walked to the window and looked out over the African savanna. Sometimes solving a problem requires unconventional means. I have the ability to do it, so I will. It's that simple. Xinxia went quiet. He knew you had a point, but that style of solving things by going directly to force with no regard for borders or laws still wasn't something he could fully accept. Li Siyu, however, didn't care about any of that. Right now, all she cared about was whether her cousin would be saved. She then asked Shinji, those special forces, can they safely rescue my cousin? Will it be dangerous? You said confidently, don't worry. The team I'm sending is the most elite special forces in the world. Never mind a telecom fraud compound. They can walk in and out of a military base just as easily. That sounded like an exaggeration, but you were telling the truth. Because deep down, you knew those special forces were actually the most elite enhanced soldiers. Each one of them had the combat ability to take down a Terminator barehanded, with the fighting capacity of 1,000 men. Masters of every weapon and tactic, completely loyal, and without fear of death. A force like that, placed anywhere on Earth, left only you standing. You walked to the desk and opened your laptop, pulling up the satellite map. What appeared on screen were 2 green dots moving eastward from the center of Africa. Those were the transports. Behind them trailed over a dozen small red dots, the escort fighters and bombers. This airborne formation was flying at Mach 3, at an altitude of 30,000 meters, completely avoiding radar detection from every country below. Even if a radar happened to catch a trace of them, it would be mistaken for a meteor or debris, because at that speed and altitude, it already exceeds the performance limits of most aircraft currently on Earth. You stared at the map, your eyes turning cold and deep. This mission wasn't just about rescuing one person. It wasn't just about punishing one arrogant telecom fraud thug. This was a demonstration to the whole world of the Huanyu Group's true power. You wanted certain people to know your reach wasn't limited to Africa. Your strength could extend to any corner of the globe. And you wanted those who dared to target your family to think very carefully about the consequences. You muttered to yourself, let Northern Myanmar be the beginning. Huanyu Group Command Center. On a massive holographic screen, dozens of glowing dots were moving at high speed across the map, heading east from deep within Africa, crossing the Indian Ocean straight toward northern Myanmar. You sat at the command station, facing dozens of split screens showing satellite imagery, flight data, troop vital signs, and a flood of other information. Shin Weidong stood behind you, ready to carry out orders at any moment. Commander, the formation has entered Myanmar airspace. Altitude 35,000 meters, speed Mach 3, an operator reported. Local radar systems show no anomalies. Good. You nodded. Proceed as planned. On screen, the two green dots representing the transport aircraft began to slow down and drop in altitude. They dove from 30,000 meters above, opening their cargo doors at 5,000 meters from the ground. A calm voice came through the communications channel. Lying squad, prepare for airdrop. You then gave the order. Airdrop authorized. Go. One by one, 108 black figures leaped from the transports, carving graceful arcs through the night sky. They were equipped with the most advanced wing suit systems, capable of gliding dozens of kilometers through the air and landing with precision at designated points. 12 modified F-22 fighters circled at higher altitude, ready to provide air support at any moment. 4 modified B-1EB strategic bombers held position at altitude, their bomb bays loaded with precision-guided munitions, enough to level the entire Wa State region. Airdrop successful. All troops have landed safely, the comms channel reported. Regrouping now. Xiaomei's first day landing in Africa. She already sensed something was off about you. Not only was your visa at the top diplomatic level, but the airline had even arranged an early departure specifically for them. She originally assumed you were just some small-time local boss, but when she saw the chat logs on your phone, she nearly dropped it on the spot. It turned out to be a progress report on an interstellar fleet under construction. Before she could even process that, dozens of fighter jets roared right over their heads. You gently patted her head and said, "Since you're already here, let me show you what your brother really has." You looked at the green lights scattered on screen, now rapidly converging. A look of satisfaction crossed your face. You issued the next order. Move in 3 groups as planned. Group A, capture the target Wutian. Group B, rescue the target Lin Xiaoyu. Group C, eliminate the main forces of the Wa State United Army. Operation begins. Understood. Meanwhile, on the other side, Wutian was lying on a shabby bed with 2 young girls sprawled out beside him, barely dressed. The room reeked of cigarettes, alcohol, and something else hard to describe. Wutian took a drag and thought back to the live stream. Those cold eyes of yours had left a deep impression on her. That look wasn't a bluff. One of the girls leaned over and said softly, "Hey boss, stop overthinking it. Around here, nobody's got any real pull. Besides, you've got the Wa State United Army backing you up. What's there to be afraid of?" Another girl chimed in, "Exactly. And besides, Africa is thousands of kilometers from here. Those armored trucks and helicopters can't even reach us." Comforted by the 2 girls, Wutian relaxed a little. "That's right. Northern Myanmar is a lawless zone. Warlords rule here and armed groups are everywhere. Even the Myanmar government army can't do anything here. This might actually be good publicity. Damn it, next time I go live, I'm gonna..." Wutian was in the middle of making threats when he suddenly heard a few muffled sounds from outside. Very faint, like something falling to the ground, or like suppressed gunshots. What was that? Wutian tensed and sat up. One girl shrugged. Probably just a rat. No. Wutian had spent too many years in this part of Myanmar. He had an instinct for danger. He quickly reached under his pillow, grabbed a handgun, jumped out of bed, and walked to the door. He pressed his ear against it and listened. Outside was completely silent. Too silent. Unnaturally silent. Wutian's heart began to race. He slowly turned the handle and opened the door a crack and looked outside. The hallway was empty. In the dim light, he could just make out a few dark shapes on the floor. Wutian looked harder. Those were his men. 3 of them, slumped over in the corridor, their necks bent at impossible angles, obviously snapped. Wutian screamed and slammed the door shut, frantically trying to lock it. But it was too late. The heavy wooden door was kicked open with one blow, the entire frame ripped from the wall. It crashed heavily to the floor, sending up a cloud of dust. 3 shadows rushed in like ghosts. Wu Tian didn't even get a clear look at their faces. All she felt was a massive impact to her stomach. Someone had kicked her dead center. The force of that kick was stunning. Wu Tian felt like she'd been hit by a car. She was launched more than 3 meters through the air, slammed into the wall, and crumpled to the floor. She curled up in agony, barely able to breathe, feeling like her insides had been scrambled. The 2 girls screamed, but were immediately muffled and knocked out. Wu Tian struggled to lift her head. In her blurred vision, she could only make out figures in all black gear, with faint glowing light visible where their eyes were. Wu Tian asked with difficulty, "Who are you? You want money? I have money. Just don't kill me." One of the special forces walked over and lifted him up with one hand, as effortlessly as lifting a small animal. Another pulled out a tablet showing Wu Tian's photo and information. The man spoke in a cold electronic voice. Target confirmed. Wu Tian, also known as Xiaoba. You're your Shin Feng's people. Wu Tian finally put it together, and her eyes filled with pure terror. Impossible. How could you be here so fast? The squad leader gave the order. Take her. Wu Tian tried to resist, but took another hit to the gut. This time she couldn't even make a sound. She was dragged out like a limp dog. Wu Tian was hauled downstairs and shoved into a black vehicle. The engine started and it slipped silently into the night. The whole thing took less than 3 minutes. Clean and efficient. Not a single soul had noticed. At the same time, on the northern Myanmar border, a certain telecom fraud compound. The compound covered about 5 hectares, surrounded by high walls and electric fences. Watchtowers lined the walls with heavy machine guns mounted on top. Inside were more than a dozen buildings, some used as dormitories, some as offices. But in reality, this was a place where telecom fraud was being carried out. Deep in the night, most of the lights in the compound were still on. The people forced to work as scammers were still at it, defrauding their own countrymen by phone and online. Anyone who missed their quota faced various forms of punishment. In a small building at the deepest part of the compound, Lin Xiaoyu was tied to a bed, a cloth stuffed in her mouth, staring blankly at the ceiling. Her body was covered in bruises and wounds. Some were fresh, others had already begun to scab. 3 men stood by the bed speaking in Burmese, occasionally breaking into unsettling laughter. They were speaking Burmese, but Lin Xiaoyu could roughly guess what they were saying. She had gone numb. From the initial fear, resistance, and shame, to the despair and numbness she felt now, it had only taken 3 days. And at this very moment, one of the men suddenly said, "Sounds like something's going on outside." Another tilted his head and listened. Gunshots. Definitely gunshots. Very dense. But they stopped quickly. The third man said dismissively, probably another compound handling a worker who got out of line. "Let's go check it out." The 3 men got dressed, grabbed their AK-47s leaning against the wall, and shuffled out of the room. Only Lin Xiaoyu was left inside. She still lay there with her eyes open, but her gaze was hollow, like a puppet with no soul. Suddenly, a few muffled sounds came from outside the window, followed by the sound of something heavy hitting the floor. Lin Xiaoyu's eyes shifted slightly, but she had no other reaction. She had long since lost interest in any sound. The door was quietly pushed open. 2 shadows slipped inside. They wore the same black combat gear as the ones who had captured Wu Tian, moving with swift and professional precision. One quickly swept the room. The other walked to the bedside, and when he saw the state Lin Xiaoyu was in, his brow furrowed beneath his helmet. He reported into his comm target located. Condition critical. Bring her out. Handle with care. Understood. The man carefully untied the ropes binding Lin Xiaoyu and removed the cloth from her mouth. But Lin Xiaoyu didn't react at all, like she was already gone. The man's voice softened. He said quietly, "Lin Xiaoyu, we're here to rescue you. You're safe now. We're taking you out of here." Lin Xiaoyu's eyes finally came into focus. She looked at the man who had spoken, first confused, then doubtful, then just barely a flicker of light. Her voice was hoarse, barely audible. "Yes, your cousin Li Xiu asked us to come for you." The man said, "Can you stand?" Lin Xiaoyu tried to move, but her entire body was in too much pain to budge. The man didn't ask again. He carefully wrapped her in a blanket and carried her in his arms. The other had already cleared the hallway. The 2 moved quickly out of the room. The corridor was littered with a dozen bodies, all compound guards. They had died fast. Many hadn't even had time to draw their weapons. The fighting downstairs was already over. All 50-plus armed guards in the compound had been neutralized. Not a single one left standing. The people being held captive as scammers were huddled in their rooms in terror, not knowing what had happened. The special forces didn't stop for them. Their mission was only to extract Lin Xiaoyu. As for those workers, if they were lucky, they might escape in the chaos that followed. If not, they'd just have to leave it up to fate. The soldier carrying Lin Xiaoyu moved swiftly out of the compound and linked up with the others outside. A modified off-road vehicle was already waiting on the road. The squad leader reported, "Target is safe. Withdrawing now." Copy. Head to the rally point with Group C. Hua State United Army Headquarters. Located in a small town deep in the northern Myanmar mountains, this was the core territory of the Hua State United Army. Home to over 2,000 armed personnel, equipped with tanks. Just as they were speaking, a sharp alarm suddenly blared from outside. Xiaomei's first day landing in Africa. She already sensed something was off about you. Not only was your visa at the top diplomatic level, but the airline had even arranged an early departure specifically for them. She originally assumed you'd just become some kind of local boss over here, but when she saw the chat logs on your phone, she nearly dropped it on the spot. It turned out to be an interstellar fleet construction progress report. Before she could even process that, dozens of fighter jets roared right over their heads. You patted her head and said, "Since you're here, let me show you what your brother really owns." An officer frowned. "What's going on?" "Don't know, probably a drill." Before he could finish, the windows of the command room suddenly blew out. The blinding flash and deafening blast left everyone temporarily blind and disoriented. "It's an attack. We're under attack." But it was already too late. For strategic bombers dropped the first wave from 10,000 meters up. These weren't ordinary bombs. They were bunker-busting penetrators and thermobaric warheads, designed specifically for taking out ground positions. The first strike destroyed the command center, communications hub, and weapons depot in one hit. The overpressure blast from the thermobaric bombs swept across the entire base. The second wave targeted heavy weapons like tanks, armored vehicles, and artillery. All of it, equipment that had terrorized northern Myanmar for years, was torn apart like cardboard in front of precision-guided bombs. The bombing lasted 15 minutes. By the time the explosions stopped, the Hua State United Army Headquarters had been turned into a sea of fire. Of the 2,000-plus soldiers, over 80% were dead or wounded. The survivors had completely lost the will to fight. Only then did the special forces officially move in. Dozens of figures in black combat gear appeared like ghosts among the ruins. They carried QBZ-191 assault rifles. The surviving soldiers tried to resist, but it was all futile. This wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. The special forces swept through with cold efficiency, clearing every remaining pocket of resistance. They didn't speak. They didn't communicate. They simply carried out their mission of elimination in silence. 20 minutes later, the gunfire stopped completely. The Hua State United Army, an armed force that had terrorized northern Myanmar for years, was wiped out in less than 1 hour. Group C squad leader reported. "Target eliminated." Copy. Head to the rally point, an open clearing 20 kilometers from the Hua State United Army Headquarters. The 2 transport aircraft had already landed. Groups A and B had arrived one after another, bringing Wu Yin and Lin Xiaoyu with them. Wu Yin was thrown to the ground, her face twisted with hatred toward you. Lin Xiaoyu was carefully placed in the medical bay of the transport aircraft. 2 Special Forces medics were already performing an initial assessment and treatment. All 3 squad leaders reported in at the same time. "Commander, mission complete. Target Wu Yin has been captured. Target Lin Xiaoyu has been rescued. Hua State United Army has been destroyed. 0 casualties on our side. Africa Command Center." You watched the footage streaming back on the screen. You said with satisfaction, "Good. Withdraw as planned." Just like how they arrived, they disappeared silently into the night sky. When Xinxia woke up, she felt a slight fog in her head. She turned out of bed and stepped out of the bedroom. Suddenly, a gentle voice came from behind her. "Miss, you're awake." Xinxia turned around and saw a young maid standing in the doorway, holding a tray with warm water and a towel. The maid said respectfully, "Mr. Shin asked me to tell you that Miss Lin Xiaoyu has been rescued and brought back. She's in the medical center now." Xinxia snapped, fully awake. "Really? How is she doing? Can I go see her?" Mr. Shin said, "You may, but you should prepare yourself mentally." The maid hesitated. "Miss Lin's condition isn't great." Xinxia's heart sank. She didn't even bother washing her face. She threw on clothes and rushed out. In the hallway, she ran into Li Xiu and Lin Xiaoxia's friend Zhang Yu, both just as frantic. "Xiaxia, you heard too." Li Xiu's eyes were red and swollen. She clearly hadn't slept all night. "My cousin's back. Let's go see her now." Xinxia grabbed her hand and they ran toward the medical center. When they arrived, you were already there, speaking with several doctors in white coats. Xinxia ran over. "How is Xiaoyu?" You turned around. "Xiaoyu is back now, but she's not in good shape. You need to be prepared." You let a doctor lead the way. Everyone passed through several corridors and arrived outside a special ward. Through the glass wall, you could see the room was filled with all kinds of medical equipment. A frail girl lay on the bed, connected to tubes and monitors throughout her body. That was Lin Xiaoyu. Li Xiu covered her mouth, and tears immediately began to fall. The girl on the bed was almost unrecognizable. Her face was swollen and dark, her eyes shut tight, her lips cracked and dry. But the worst part was her condition. She was convulsing violently on the bed, her body twisting into unnatural positions, making sounds of agony from deep in her throat. Lin Xiaoxia stepped back, visibly shaken. What's wrong with her? You explained calmly. She's going through withdrawal. The people in northern Myanmar injected her with drugs. Now that the effects have worn off, the withdrawal is hitting hard. Li Xiu nearly collapsed. Drugs? How could they? How could they do this? You continued. In a place like that, anything can happen. Drugs are a common method used to control captives. They get you addicted and then they own you. You're too afraid to escape, too afraid to fight back. Shen Xia stared at Lin Xiaoyu suffering in the room and felt a surge of fierce anger rising inside her. She thought back to the live stream, to that person called Xiaoba, so smug and arrogant, saying northern Myanmar was her turf and no one could touch her. Shen Xia's voice went cold. Brother, where's Xiaoba? You answered flatly. Brought her back. She's in the underground interrogation room. Shen Xia said suddenly, I want to see her. You looked at your sister with slight surprise. Shen Xia's expression was calm, but you noticed something in her eyes, something cold and still you had never seen before. You were quiet for a moment, then nodded. All right, once we're done here I'll take you there. Just then, Lin Xiaoyu in the ward suddenly let out a sharp, piercing scream. She shot up from the bed, frantically tearing at the tubes and restraints on her body. Her eyes were wide open, but her gaze was empty, as if she was seeing something terrifying. Let me go. Let me go, she screamed. Help me. Several medical staff rushed in to try to calm her down. Though Lin Xiaoyu's strength was surprising, the enhanced nurses handled it with ease. You spoke into your calm to the doctor inside. If she keeps resisting and risks hurting herself, put her in restraints. But don't sedate her. You knew deep down she had to push through this herself. Only then could she truly recover. Inside the ward, the doctors followed your instructions, securing Lin Xiaoyu in the bed with specially designed restraints. She was still struggling, still screaming, still pleading, but her voice was slowly fading, replaced by pained whimpers and crying. Li Xiu had already broken down completely. She pressed herself against the glass wall and whispered to the girl inside. Xiaoyu Jiejie, please hang in there. We're all here. You have to hold on. Lin Xiaoxia and Zhang Yu stood there imagining what it would feel like if it had happened to them. Xin Xia didn't cry. She just stood quietly, watching, burning this moment into her memory. She had seen many heartbreaking stories in the live stream. She had heard about all kinds of suffering. But seeing it with your own eyes is completely different from hearing about it. In this moment, she finally understood why you were so ruthless toward those people in northern Myanmar. Some people don't deserve to be called human. Xin Xia asked quietly. Brother, what about the ones who hurt Xiaoyu Jiejie? You said plainly. They're all dead. The compound she was in 56 armed guards. All eliminated, including the ones who hurt her. They died quickly, which was honestly more than they deserved. So what about the others in that compound? The people who were tricked into going there? Those who could escape did escape. Those who couldn't. You paused. They'll have to rely on their own luck. I'm not a savior. I can't save everyone. Xin Xia nodded. She knew you were telling the truth. Getting Lin Xiaoyu out of a place like that was already a miracle. Hoping to save everyone was never realistic. You said, come on. Let's go see that Xiaoba. Xiaomei's first day landing in Africa, she sensed right away that your reach was intimidating. Not only was your visa at the top diplomatic level, but the airline had even arranged an early departure just for them. She'd originally thought you had become some kind of small local chief here. She nearly dropped the phone when she saw the chat records, a construction progress report for a brand new naval fleet. And before she could even process that, dozens of fighter jets swept right over their heads. You patted her head and said, since you're here, let me show you what your brother really owns. You led the 4 girls away from the medical center, passing through the estate grounds, and arrived at an unremarkable-looking building. This structure had no windows, only a heavy alloy door. Behind the door was a corridor leading downward. The lighting was dim, and the air carried a sharp smell of disinfectant. You all walked down the corridor. About 5 meters in, you reached another door. Behind it was a small room that looked like an interrogation chamber. In the center sat a metal chair bolted to the floor. Someone was sitting in it. It was Wu Tian, otherwise known as the infamous Xiaoba. She looked far worse than she had on the live stream. Her face was bruised, the corner of her mouth split, one eye swollen nearly shut. Her hands were fixed to the armrests with custom restraints. Her ankles were also secured, The clothes she wore were filthy beyond recognition. When she heard the door open, she looked up. The moment her eyes met yours, terror flooded into them. Eshin boss. Her voice was raw, barely able to form words. I was wrong. I really was wrong. Please spare my life. You ignored her. You simply turned to the girls behind you and said, "This is the person who was so bold and loud in the live stream. She tricked 138 people from our country into going to northern Myanmar. Among them, 23 girls were sold to entertainment venues. 5 are confirmed dead. Lin Xiaoyu was the 139th. Li Siyu glared at Wu Tian with eyes that could have burned holes through her. It was you. You're the one who destroyed my cousin." Wu Tian looked at Li Siyu and immediately said, "Miss, I was wrong. I genuinely didn't know she was your cousin. If I'd known, not even 100 of me would have dared." Li Siyu screamed. "Not knowing makes it okay. What about all the other people you tricked? What about their families? How could you be so heartless?" Wu Tian looked down and said nothing. Shin Xia stepped in front of her and studied that face carefully. On the live stream, that face had been so arrogant, so smug, as if the whole world was beneath it. And now, all that was left on it was fear and despair. Shin Xia suddenly asked, "Do you regret it?" Wu Tian blinked, then nodded frantically. "I regret it. I really do. I shouldn't have done any of that. I shouldn't have." Shin Xia cut her off. "You don't regret what you did. If I didn't have my brother, if my brother didn't have this kind of power, would you regret anything? You'd keep tricking people, keep hurting people, keep being arrogant in your live streams." Wu Tian opened her mouth but couldn't say a word, because Shin Xia was right. She didn't regret deceiving and hurting others. She only regretted kicking a wall of iron. Shin Xia turned and asked you, "Brother, what are you going to do with her?" You looked at Wu Tian, eyes cold as stone. Someone like her, 100 deaths wouldn't be enough. But killing her outright would let her off too easy. Hearing the word death, Wu Tian trembled head to toe. "Shin boss, please, I beg you. I can work for you. I still have connections in northern Myanmar. I can help you." With Wu Tian's eyes went wide. She stared in disbelief. The Wa State United Army, one of the most powerful armed forces in northern Myanmar, with tanks and heavy artillery, even the Myanmar government army couldn't do anything to them. And they'd been completely wiped out in a single night. The man standing before her, what kind of monster was he? You gave an order to the guards. "All right, take her up. Let her wash up and change clothes. She'll be on camera shortly." Wu Tian went completely still. "On camera?" You smiled. "Didn't you love going live? Then go live one more time. Say goodbye to your fans." At 10 in the morning, Shin Xia went live right on schedule. The moment the stream started, over 1 million viewers flooded in. Many had been waiting all night, desperate to know what had happened in northern Myanmar. Shin Xia said to the camera, "Hi everyone, I'm Xia Xia. I know you've all been curious about what happened yesterday. Today my brother has an old friend who wants to meet everyone." The comments exploded instantly. "Old friend? Who is it? Could it be the northern Myanmar Xiaoba? Bro actually did it. He said he would. I can't believe they actually caught her. This can't be real. Northern Myanmar is so far. How is this possible so fast? I'll wait and see if I'm wrong." Shin Xia adjusted the camera and pointed it at you. You smiled at the lens. "Good morning everyone. Yesterday I said within 24 hours, someone would get a surprise. Well, the surprise is here." Fully armed guards escorted someone over. The person was wearing clean clothes and had been washed up, but the bruises and wounds were still visible. Most telling of all, her eyes were filled with terror, a far cry from the arrogant attitude she had shown on the livestream. "Let me introduce everyone. This is Mr. Wu Tian, also known as the Northern Myanmar Xiaoba you all know." Your tone was warm, but every word landed like a needle, straight into Wu Tian's heart. The camera zoomed in on Wu Tian. Viewers squinted at the screen and soon someone recognized her. "That's really Xiaoba. Oh my god, bro actually brought her back. The speed of this operation. People like this deserve to be hit." Wu Tian stared into the camera, lips trembling, unable to speak. A guard smacked the back of her head. "Talk." Wu Tian flinched and forced herself to face the lens. "I'm Wu Tian, the Northern Myanmar Xiaoba. I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so loud and reckless online. I shouldn't have provoked Shin Feng. I'm asking for everyone's forgiveness." Her voice was shaking and incoherent. Nothing like the cocky attitude she'd shown the day before. But the comments were full of everything. "Now you finally know fear. Yesterday you were talking all that trash about how no one can touch you. Brother's power makes northern Myanmar look like nothing. Thank you, big brother. What's he planning to do with her?" You saw the question in the comments and replied. "As for what to do with Wu Tian, I have an idea." You paused and then continued. "Wu Tian really loves animals, especially big cats and reptiles, so I'm thinking of sending her somewhere. A place with her favorite lions and crocodiles. She can make friends with them, The comments went dead quiet for a moment, then exploded. Friends with lions and crocodiles? Ow. Oh, I get it now. That's his way of putting it. A bit too brutal, maybe. But think about the people he tricked. Think about Lin Xiaoyu still lying in the hospital. Scum like this deserves it. Wu Tian heard your words and literally collapsed to the ground. A wet stain spreading beneath her. She sobbed and crawled to your feet, clutching your legs. Shin boss, please, I beg you. I don't want to die. Please let me live. You kicked her away in disgust. Take her. Two guards dragged Wu Tian off like a ragdoll. Her cries echoed and then faded away down the corridor. Then you spoke, your voice steady. As for those still committing crimes in northern Myanmar, I'm giving you 24 hours. Within 24 hours, release all captive citizens from our country. Dismantle your telecom fraud operations. Otherwise, the comments went wild with praise. But Brother's power is based in Africa. Northern Myanmar is so far. The ones above clearly don't get it. Brother's reach is global. You didn't say anything more. You gave Shinxia a nod. Shinxia understood and said to the camera, "That's all for today's stream. I'll keep everyone updated as soon as there's news. Take care, everyone." Shinxia put down his phone and let out a long breath. He'd been holding it together during that whole live stream, but he was genuinely nervous on the inside, especially when he saw Wu Tian being dragged away. Part of him had felt a twinge of sympathy, but the moment he thought about Lin Xiaoyu suffering in that hospital room, that feeling disappeared. He said quietly, "Are you really going to arrange an early departure just for them?" He'd originally assumed you'd become some kind of minor boss on this side, but when he saw the chat history on your phone, he nearly dropped it on the spot. It turned out to be a construction progress report on an interstellar fleet. Before he could even react, dozens of fighter jets roared right over their heads. You patted his head and smiled. "Since you're here, let me show you what your brother really has." You looked at your sister and said, "You think I was too cruel?" Shinxia hesitated, then nodded. A little, even though he absolutely deserved it. You interrupted him. "Xia, remember this. Being merciful to the enemy is being cruel to the victims. If I let him go today, he'll hurt more people tomorrow. The people running those fraud operations in northern Myanmar, every one of them has blood on their hands. They don't deserve sympathy." You walked to the window and looked out at the estate grounds. "And besides, you want this to send a message to everyone. Anyone who touches the people close to me, this is what they get. Only by making that clear can you make anyone who thinks about coming after you actually stop and think twice." Shinxia understood now. What you did wasn't just about punishing Wu Tian. It was about making a statement. You wanted the whole world to know that your family is your bottom line. Touch them and you die. Shinxia said, "I get it. It's just I'm still not quite used to this." You patted his head. "You'll get used to it. That's just how this world works. If you don't play rough, others will come for you. What we have to do is be tougher than everyone else. That way no one dares to mess with us." Just then, Shin Weidong walked in. "Commander, Miss Lin Xiaoyu's withdrawal symptoms have passed their peak. She's entered the weak and exhausted phase. The doctor is asking whether to give her medication to ease the pain." You thought for a moment. Use some mild support medication. But no substitutes. She has to push through this on her own willpower. Shun Weidong also reported. "There's news from northern Myanmar. Several smaller fraud operations have already released the people they were holding. But some of the bigger ones are still waiting to see what happens." "Waiting to see," you said with a cold laugh. "Then let them wait. After 24 hours, they won't have the luxury of waiting anymore." You turned to Shin Weidong. "Order the bomber squadrons and special forces on standby. After 24 hours, if any fraud operations refuse to surrender, go through the list and wipe them out one by one." Shin Weidong saluted and then asked, "And Wu Tian?" You kept a straight face. "Handle it as planned. Record the whole process and send it to everyone still in northern Myanmar. Let them know I'm not bluffing." Shin Weidong left. The room was again just the two of you. Shinxia looked at you and suddenly felt like you were a stranger. He said quietly, "You've changed so much." You paused, then smiled. "Yeah, I've changed. But some things haven't." You looked at your sister seriously. "I'm still the brother who will always protect you. Still the same Shinfeng who loves his family. I just have the power to protect you now. And a reason that forces me to be hard sometimes." You stepped in front of your sister and placed both hands on her shoulders. "Xia, you have to remember, in this world, to protect the people you care about, sometimes you have to do certain things. That's the price of growing up." Shinxia nodded, eyes beginning to water. "I understand. I just need some time." You said warmly, "That's fine. Take your time. Come on, let's go check on your roommates. They must have been scared to death today." At that moment, Li Xiu, Lin Xiaoxia, and Zhang Yu were all sitting in the living room. All three of them looked pale. Xinxia walked over. Siyu, how's your cousin? Li Siyu wiped her tears. The doctor said she made it through the hardest part, but she still needs to be monitored. Then she looked at you. Shinji, thank you. If it wasn't for you said, no need to thank me. You're my sister's friends, which makes you my little sisters too. Looking out for you is what I'm supposed to do. Then you paused and added, take it easy in the estate these next few days. Don't overthink things. Once Lin Xiaoyu is stable, I'll arrange for you to see her. The three girls nodded. After everything that had happened today, their feelings toward you had become complicated. Gratitude, awe, and a hint of fear all mixed together. The next few days at the estate were quiet. Xinxia streamed daily life for her followers, showing the scenery of Africa and introducing the local culture, but never once mentioning what happened in northern Myanmar. Her follower count had already passed 20 million, making her one of the top streamers on the platform. Meanwhile, online discussion about the northern Myanmar incident kept growing. Someone had photographed the aftermath of the Wa State United Army headquarters after the bombing, towering flames and nothing but ruins. There were also reports that multiple telecom fraud operations in northern Myanmar had suddenly released large numbers of captive citizens, some even personally escorting them to the border. All of this was credited to the intervention of a mysterious force. And everyone knew that mysterious force was you and your Huanyu group. 24 hours later, you made good on your word. The fraud operations still holding out were destroyed one by one. Bombers struck their bases with precision. Special forces mopped up whatever was left. The whole process was clean and left no trace. The telecom fraud industry in northern Myanmar took an unprecedented blow in just a matter of days. The bosses who had once acted untouchable either surrendered, vanished, or ended up as dinner for the lions. 2 hours and 17 minutes. That was the runtime of the latest video Xinxia had just posted. The title was simple. Full record of the northern Myanmar operation. For all the doubters. 10 minutes after the video went up, it hit 10 million views. After 1 hour, it broke records. 2 hours later, it hit 500 million. 24 hours after that, the video's combined view count across global social media platforms had surpassed 3 billion, making it one of the fastest spreading videos in internet history. The opening was ordinary enough, just clips from Xinxia's livestream. Li Siyu tearfully recounting how her cousin was trafficked to northern Myanmar. The livestream connecting to an arrogant Xiaoba. You calmly stating you'd resolve it within 24 hours. Then the footage cut to 12 modified F-22 fighter jets, followed by 4 B-1B Lancer strategic bombers. These giants accelerated down the runway and pulled up at impossible angles, vanishing into the night sky in seconds. Next came footage inside the transport aircraft. 108 fully armed Special Forces soldiers, seated in perfect formation, checking their gear with blank expressions. Then the airdrop sequence. The transport doors opened. Soldiers leaped out one after another. In the darkness, they deployed their wings and glided like black bats toward the target zone. Aerial footage captured the breathtaking scene. Over 100 black dots threading through the clouds, flying with precision toward targets dozens of kilometers away. Once on the ground, the operation began. Group A's capture of northern Myanmar's Xiaoba was recorded in full. From silently eliminating the outer guards to kicking in the door to subduing Wutian, the whole thing took under 3 minutes. In the video, the special forces moved so fast you could barely track them. Every move, every action clean and targeted. Straight to the kill. The special forces among special forces. The guards never even had a chance to fire. Group B's rescue of Lin Xiaoyu was far more somber. Viewers saw the girl's condition. Covered in wounds, eyes hollow, tied to a bed. That footage triggered a wave of raw fury. Scum like them should die. Kill them all. The comments flooded with outrage. Then came Group C's assault on the Wa State United Army headquarters. One of the most stunning segments of the video. From a high aerial view, 4 bombers dropped their payloads in one pass. The ground instantly became a sea of fire. This is war. This is actual war. A force of over 2,000 people just wiped out like that. Those bombers are brutal. But for people like them, that's exactly what they deserve. The final segment of the video returned to Africa. Wu Tian, the former northern Myanmar Xiaoba, was brought to the estate. She begged you for mercy on the livestream. Then came the now famous line about making friends with the lions. Of course, the most graphic footage had been edited out. Viewers only saw Wu Tian being dragged away, followed by distant weeping and a brief scream. Then the scene cut. That was enough. Everyone understood what had happened. The video ended with footage of Lin Xiaoyu receiving treatment in the medical center. She looked much better than before, still weak, but there was a faint spark back in her eyes. Li Siyu sat by the bed holding her hand. They were both in tears, but it was the kind of tears that come from being reunited. The final text on screen read, "Some lines cannot be crossed. Some people cannot be provoked. Shinfeng." End of video. But the storm it unleashed had only just begun. Xiaomei's first day landing in Africa, she was already taken aback by how far your reach went. Not only was your visa at the highest diplomatic level, but the airline had arranged an early departure specifically for them. She had originally assumed you'd become some small local boss. But when he saw the chat history on your phone, she nearly dropped it. It turned out to be a construction progress report for an interstellar fleet. And before he could even process that, dozens of fighter jets roared right overhead. You patted his head and said, "Since you're here, let me show you what your brother really owns." Somewhere in China, a military academy. A conference room filled with senior officers decorated in gleaming metals. On the big screen, a highlight reel from the full record of the northern Myanmar operation was playing. A general held up his hand. The footage froze on a close-up of the rifles being used by your special forces. Zoom in. The frame zoomed in. The rifle's details were sharp and clear. Though modifications had been made, the basic structure was still identifiable. A weapons expert spoke. "This is a heavily modified version of the QBZ-191. Look at the rail system. Look at the receiver structure. But many parts are completely different. This sight, I've never seen that model before. And the barrel material looks like some kind of composite." The general asked. "Performance-wise? Based on the footage, the range, precision, and stopping power all far exceed the standard 191. The expert adjusted his glasses. "Also look at the shooting stance. The recoil control is exceptional. Almost zero muzzle climb. That either means the weapon itself is incredibly well engineered, or the soldiers have gone through extremely rigorous training. Or both." Another officer pulled up a different clip. "Look here. This soldier fires 50 meters out, continuous shots. All rounds within a 2-centimeter grouping. That kind of accuracy, our elite troops can match it too. But not this effortlessly." The general went quiet for a moment. "Send the video to the equipment department and have them study it. Also, try reaching out to Xinxia and see if you can contact Xinfeng. Ask whether there's any possibility of cooperation regarding that equipment." Similar scenes were playing out in military establishments around the world. Russia, the UK, Germany, Israel. Every capable nation was analyzing that video, trying to extract any intelligence of value. And the most troubled of all was America, Washington, D.C., the Pentagon. A highly classified conference room, the atmosphere so tense you could cut it. The Secretary of Defense slammed the table, face like iron. "Someone tell me why a B-1 Lancer ended up in a Chinese man's private army." The room fell completely silent. Generals and senior officials stared at the table, not daring to speak. "Intelligence Department." The secretary turned to a middle-aged man in glasses. "What did you find?" The intelligence officer braced himself. "Sir, we have investigated every possible leak channel and found nothing. Lockheed Martin and Boeing have both firmly denied selling any equipment to Huanyu Group. We've also reviewed their production and sales records. There's genuinely nothing." The secretary roared. "Then what are those in the video? Props? Those are real, functional aircraft that fly and bomb things, and they're performing better than our current production models. Did you see those takeoff sequences? Almost no engine noise. What kind of technology is that?" An Air Force general spoke up. "We've run an analysis. Those aircraft may only resemble F-22s and B-1Bs on the outside. The internals are likely entirely different in structure, especially the propulsion systems. The standard F-22 uses two 419 turbofan engines. But the fighters in that footage show almost none of the typical signatures of a jet engine. They look more like some kind of more advanced propulsion system." The secretary frowned. "More advanced? More advanced than the F-22? The general nodded. "Yes. And the bombers too. The B-1B tops out at Mach 1.25. But those bombers in the footage were clearly faster. Based on reverse calculations from our satellite data, their cruising speed may have reached Mach 2.5 or even higher." The room broke into quiet but stunned murmuring. "A Mach 2.5 bomber. What does that even mean?" The general continued. "Then there's the range. Africa to northern Myanmar is over 7,000 kilometers one way. A standard B-1B needs at least 2 mid-air refueling stops to cover that distance. But the video shows these bombers flew the entire round trip non-stop, which means their range is at least 15,000 kilometers." The secretary looked stunned. 15,000 kilometers? That's more than the B-2. So the conclusion is, the intelligence officer summarized. Huanyu Group's aviation technology may already exceed ours. Those aircraft merely look like F-22s and B-1Bs. What they actually are is something else entirely. The room fell into a silence like death. A private group with more advanced aviation technology than the United States. Sounded like fiction, but the video evidence was right in front of them, and they had no choice but to take it seriously. The secretary finally asked the question everyone had been thinking. "Who is this man?" The intelligence officer reported. from a small county in China. Ordinary university graduate. 2 years ago he went to Africa, and then it was like he strapped himself to a rocket. In a very short time he built up an enormous power base. We suspect he may have received support from a state or organization. Or what? The officer said carefully. Or he has access to some kind of advanced technology we don't know about. The secretary frowned. Advanced technology? Are you saying alien tech? Some secret organization's legacy? Both are possible. But regardless of the source, the Huanyu Group now possesses military capabilities on par with a mid-level nation. Based on this northern Myanmar operation, their projection capability, strike precision, and troop quality are all world-class. The secretary was silent for a long time. Then his eyes sharpened. We cannot allow a private military force to possess this kind of power, especially when the man running it is Chinese. So the secretary wants to put pressure on Huanyu Group. The secretary ordered, through diplomatic channels, demand they hand over those aircraft and cease all military activity. If they refuse, he didn't finish the sentence, but everyone understood what he meant. If they refused, America might resort to more extreme measures. The secretary added, also, notify the CIA. I want everything on him and the Huanyu Group. And all of this you had already anticipated. Africa Huanyu Group base. You read the ultimatum on screen from the United States and allowed yourself a cold smile. The message was brief. Huanyu Group had 72 hours to surrender all unlawfully obtained American equipment and disband their private military, or face severe consequences. Shun Weidong reported. Commander, a U.S. Navy carrier strike group is moving toward the Indian Ocean. Also, their bomber squadrons at Diego Garcia are on alert status. You let out an unimpressed laugh. They move fast. But do they think that's enough to rattle me? Then you thought for a moment and said, send a message back to the U.S. Department of Defense. Tell them those aircraft were made by us. Nothing to do with America. And if they want to try taking them by force, they're welcome to try. You paused and added. Also, have the aerospace forces ready. If the Americans make a move, shoot down those satellites they've got spying on us. Shun Weidong saluted and then hesitated. Commander, wouldn't this risk triggering full-scale conflict? Conflict? You laughed. Weidong, remember this. In this world, sometimes the more you back down, the more people push you around. Only by showing enough strength can you earn respect. You stood up and walked to the window, looking out over the base, knowing clearly, if America wants to test your strength, then let them come. You actually needed a live exercise to gauge your forces in real combat. You knew that conflict with America and the entire Western world was coming sooner or later, and you were already prepared. This storm would test the Huanyu Group's true power. It would also determine the shape of the world going forward. You turned, your gaze steady and unwavering. Alert all units. Move to highest combat readiness. Let's welcome our distinguished guests. Xiaomei's first day landing in Africa, she realized immediately that your reach was something else. Not only was your visa at the highest diplomatic level, but the airline had arranged an early departure specifically for them. She had originally assumed you had just become some kind of small local boss. But when she saw the chat logs on your phone, she nearly dropped it. It turned out to be an interstellar fleet construction report. Before she could even react, dozens of fighter jets roared right overhead. You patted her head and said, since you're here, let me show you what your brother really has. Indian Ocean, Maldivian waters. The U.S. Navy carrier strike group USS Nimitz was advancing in combat formation. On the carrier deck, F-18 Super Hornets were taking off and landing in constant rotation, assembling a dense patrol formation above the fleet. In the command center, Fleet Admiral Johnson stared grimly at the tactical screen. On the screen, several light signatures were orbiting the fleet in a deeply unusual pattern. Those were Huanyu Group fighters. They had been circling there for 6 straight hours. Johnson asked, still can't get a lock on them? A technical officer wiped the sweat from his forehead. No, sir. Our radar can see them. The optical systems can even pick them up visually. But the fire control systems simply cannot complete a lock. They appear to be interfering with our targeting signal, but it doesn't read like electronic jamming. Johnson frowned. Not like jamming. Then what does it look like? The officer struggled to explain. Like they just don't exist. The radar returns are intermittent. Infrared signatures fluctuate wildly. Even optical tracking loses them occasionally. I've never seen anything like this. Johnson went quiet. As a veteran who had served through the Gulf War and the war in Afghanistan, he had seen plenty of advanced military tech. But what he was looking at right now was genuinely beyond anything in his experience. Outside the window, a Huanyu Group fighter was passing over the carrier at a near-vertical angle, close enough to make out the details of the pilot's helmet. The aircraft had a matte black paint job with a minimalist star emblem on the fuselage, the mark of the Huanyu Group. The aviation commander reported. Sir, our aircraft need to return and refuel. But those planes, they don't seem to need refueling. Johnson looked at the screen. The US F-18s had been on patrol for 4 hours. They were critically low on fuel and had to return. Meanwhile, the Huanyu Group fighters had been there for 6 hours, since they first appeared, with no sign of leaving at all. Johnson ordered, "Tell the returning aircraft to be careful. Don't let them follow us onto the deck." But the order came a bit too late. One of the F-18s had just turned to head back when a Huanyu Group fighter latched right onto it, practically glued to its wing position, mirroring every single maneuver. The F-18 pilot's voice came over the radio, frantic. "Damn it, I can't shake it." The tower tried to sound calm. "Stay cool. It won't actually ram you." But what happened next made everyone draw a sharp breath. The Huanyu Group fighter suddenly accelerated, overtook the F-18, and then performed an absolutely baffling maneuver in midair. It almost instantaneously pulled into a near-vertical climb, then flipped inverted at 500 meters altitude and passed over the F-18, clearing it by less than 10 meters. The F-18 pilot nearly lost control from the shock. The aircraft shook violently several times before stabilizing. The pilot's voice was shaking. "Toying with us." The tower was speechless. Everyone in the room understood. This was no longer a question of a technical gap. This was a different category entirely. Like a propeller plane facing a jet, like a cannon facing a missile. They weren't even in the same dimension of combat. The communications officer reported, "Sir, the Defense Department is calling." Johnson took the comm unit. The secretary's voice came through, heavy and strained. "Johnson, what's the situation?" Johnson told it straight. "Not good, sir. We are completely outmatched. Their aircraft performance is far beyond ours, and we cannot get a lock on them. If it comes to a fight, our odds are not good." There was a long silence on the other end. The secretary's intent was to apply more pressure to Huanyu Group. They couldn't keep up this standoff forever. Eventually they'd show a weak point. Johnson hesitated for a moment. "Sir, with respect, I don't think continuing to pressure them is a good idea. They clearly have the upper hand. And I suspect they're holding cards we haven't seen yet." "Cards? What cards?" Johnson looked out at the black fighter still circling in the sky. "What they've shown us I don't know. But my gut tells me that might only be the tip of the iceberg." After the call ended, Johnson sat with his thoughts. As a career soldier, he didn't fear a fight. But he despised pointless sacrifice. The way things stood, if war broke out, his fleet could very likely take catastrophic losses. While your side might lose a handful of aircraft at most. Maybe not even that. Those impossible maneuvers suggested you might possess some entirely new form of defense capability. Just as Johnson was wrestling with his thoughts, word came in. Your group had posted a preview for a live stream. Xinxia would be going live in half an hour to show everyone 2 big surprises. Johnson frowned. "Big surprises? What are you planning to show?" Half an hour later, Xinxia's stream went live right on time. The moment it started, the viewer count blew past 8 million and was still climbing by tens of thousands per second. Xinxia looked at the camera, visibly tense. "Hey everyone, I'm Xia. Today my brother asked me to do a stream and show everyone 2 big surprises." The comments instantly flooded. "Big surprises? What kind of surprises? Is it new weapons?" Xia looks nervous. Of course she is. There's a US carrier sitting right outside. Can Huanyu Group actually hold up against that? I doubt it. America is the world #1 after all. Xinxia ignored the comments and turned the camera to face what was behind her. It was a wide-open area. In the center stood 3 enormous cylindrical objects, each one over 30 meters tall with a diameter wider than 3 people. Pure silver white, reflecting a cold metallic gleam in the sunlight. Some viewers caught on immediately. "Those are missiles." "Icms. Those are absolutely icms. Oh my god, the Huanyu Group even has those. What is this? Are they going to launch?" Xinxia took a deep breath and said, "My brother says he wants to give everyone 3 fireworks to watch today. These 3 missiles are intercontinental ballistic missiles. But please don't worry. They're loaded with conventional warheads only, no explosives. They're just for a test launch." Then Xinxia paused and continued. "The launch coordinates have been made public. All 3 impact zones are in international waters off the coast of the United States. This is simply a routine missile test, not directed at any country. Please don't be alarmed." She said it so casually, but the words left everyone stunned. Test launching ICBMs in waters off the coast of America and calling it not directed at any country. That was flat-out provocation. The comments detonated. Brother is insane. Launching missiles right at America's doorstep. He's going toe-to-toe with America all the way. The carrier is literally right outside. Won't this start a war? Who cares? If brother's doing it, he's got it figured out. At the same time, military bodies and intelligence agencies worldwide were all watching this stream. When the coordinates were announced, the Pentagon erupted. "He's insane. Testing ICBMs in our coastal waters. This is a declaration of war. Literal, blatant declaration of war. Order the fleet to combat stations immediately. Let's see what they're actually planning. On the stream, final launch preparations were complete. All operators wore matching uniforms and moved with the precision and efficiency of enhanced soldiers. The countdown began. When it reached 0, 3 missiles ignited almost simultaneously. Massive flames erupted from the tails. Thick smoke instantly swallowed the entire launch site. The missiles climbed into the sky, picking up speed. They quickly became 3 bright dots fading into the blue above. The stream cut to a view from space. This was footage captured by your satellites. The 3 missiles entered the upper atmosphere and began complex evasive maneuvers. Their flight paths were wildly erratic, sometimes accelerating, sometimes decelerating, sometimes banking with enormous sweeps, completely defying the trajectory patterns of conventional ballistic missiles. Military forces worldwide were anxiously tracking the missiles' flight paths. But very quickly, they discovered a terrifying truth. After the missiles entered mid-course flight, they simply disappeared from radar. Not jammed, not stealth, gone. As if they had never existed. The commander of the U.S. Northern Command stared at a completely blank radar screen. Impossible. Where are our early warning satellites? What about infrared detection? A technical officer turned pale. All tracking lost, sir. His missiles appear to have entered some kind of state that our systems simply cannot detect. Xiaomei's first day landing in Africa, she already sensed you were on a completely different level. Not only was your visa at the highest diplomatic tier, but the airline had specifically arranged an early departure just for them. She'd originally thought you had become some kind of small local boss out here, but when she saw the chat records on your phone, she nearly dropped. It turned out to be an interstellar fleet construction progress report. Before she could even process that, dozens of fighter jets roared right over their heads. You patted her head and said, "Since you're here, let me show you what your brother really has." 15 minutes later, your missiles reappeared on radar. They had already reached their designated targets, 3 separate impact zones off the eastern coast, western coast, and in the Gulf of Mexico, nearly simultaneously plunging into the sea, sending up towering walls of water. The entire sequence, from launch to impact, took less than 20 minutes. And America's missile defense systems never produced a single effective response. What this meant was that if those missiles had been carrying nuclear warheads, 3 of America's major cities would likely already be rubble. Inside the Pentagon, a silence like death fell over the room. Everyone understood what this meant. You didn't just have ICBMs. You had penetration technology that was completely uninterceptable. Your missiles passed through America's most advanced missile defense systems as if there was nothing there at all. On the stream, Shun Xia's voice returned. The first big surprise has been shown. Now for the second one. The camera cut to an airfield. 4 B-1B Lancer strategic bombers belonging to you were taxiing down the runway. Their bomb bays were open. Inside, a series of oddly shaped bombs hung in the bays. Some viewers speculated. Those are nuclear warheads. Look at that shape. It looks like a mini nuclear warhead. If Huanyu Group fires nuclear weapons at this moment, Shun Xia was saying. Next, we will be conducting a nuclear test in a designated uninhabited area on the African continent. Please rest assured, this test is not aimed at anyone. It's simply a scheduled exercise. The bombers then took off. The stream cut to a cockpit view. The pilot, actually one of your enhanced soldiers, was operating the aircraft with calm precision. Target area reached. Bomb ready. Bomb away. A bomb dropped from the bay. First came a blindingly bright sphere of light. That instantly lit up the entire screen. Even through the lens, you could feel the world-ending energy behind it. The fireball rapidly expanded, growing into a colossal inferno. It rose upward, beginning to form the stem of a mushroom cloud. Then came the cap of the cloud. It churned and climbed higher, growing larger and larger. Eventually the mushroom cloud reached tens of thousands of meters in height, and the top billowed outward, forming a vast canopy of nuclear fallout in the sky. This was the first nuclear test ever conducted on the African continent in human history. And it wasn't carried out by a nation. It was carried out by you. Private group. The comments in the stream went completely silent for a moment. Then they came crashing in like a tsunami. That's actually a nuclear bomb. Huanyu Group has nuclear weapons. This isn't a private army anymore. This is a quasi-state actor. Does America still dare to fight back? They've got nukes. Things just got real. The reactions from governments around the world were even more intense. At that moment, in the White House Oval Office, the mood was heavy enough to feel it in the air. The president's voice was very calm. So what we're dealing with is a private military with uninterceptable ICBMs and nuclear weapons. But everyone in the room could hear the fury and helplessness beneath it. The Secretary of Defense kept his head down. Yes, Mr. President. And from a technical standpoint, their missile penetration capability and nuclear miniaturization technology may already surpass ours. Then what do they want? There are no explicit demands. He only said he wants to develop peacefully, but he will not tolerate anyone threatening his family or business. The president let out a cold laugh. Peaceful development. Using nuclear bombs to pursue peace. No one dared respond. The silence went on for a long time. Finally, the president let out a breath. Have the fleet stand down. The president rubbed his temples with a weary hand. Issue a statement. Say that everything before was a misunderstanding. Call the Huanyu Group an important force for world peace and the maintenance of regional stability, and say we are willing to coexist with them peacefully. The words were extremely difficult to say, but everyone understood. There was no other choice right now. Fight they couldn't win. Talk the other side had no interest in talking, so the only option left was to swallow it. What would be the problem with that? They didn't dare fight back, so they had to back down. But won't this come across as arrogant? Arrogant? You smiled. Xia, you need to understand, sometimes in this world you have to be arrogant. Only then will people respect you. If I back down today, they'd push further tomorrow. Only by showing enough power can you achieve genuine peace. A great man once said, dignity only lives on the tip of the blade. Truth only lives within the range of the cannon. You set down your teak and let your gaze drift to the window. And besides, this is only the beginning. You knew it clearly. You needed the whole world to know that Huanyu Group is not something you mess with. That way, no one would ever dare target your family again. Xia half understood and half nodded. He didn't know the full extent of what you had, but he knew everything you did was to protect your family. Just then, Shen Weidong walked in. Commander, the American fleet has begun withdrawing. Also, the White House has issued a statement acknowledging that what happened before was a misunderstanding and calling you an important force for world peace. You nodded. Just as expected. Have our aircraft stand down too. Also, notify the research division. They can begin the next phase of development. After Shen Weidong left, you said to your sister, all right, crisis is over. You can keep enjoying your time in Africa without worrying about safety anymore. Meanwhile, elsewhere, military analysts were weighing in. From a technical perspective, what the Huanyu Group had just displayed in terms of missile penetration and nuclear weapons capability was now at a world-leading level. Especially those irregular flight patterns. They had completely overturned the existing field of ballistic missile doctrine. International relations scholars commented that this represented a major shift in the global order. A non-state actor had, for the first time, achieved military power on par with the great powers. What this meant was that the world going forward might no longer be shaped solely by nation-states, but by multiple power centers together. Of course, many people were also worried that with Huanyu Group this powerful, could they become the next threat? Could you have even bigger ambitions? Could the world fall into instability because of this? But none of those discussions mattered to you. You didn't build all of this to conquer the world, not to be king over anyone. You only wanted to protect your family, to live freely, to never be threatened by anyone again. And now you had done that. America had backed down. Other nations wouldn't dare provoke you easily. Your family was safe. Your business was secure. That was enough. As for the future, you had your own plans. And on the far side of the solar system, more fleets were under construction. Earth was only the starting point. The stars and the sea beyond were your true destination. But that time hadn't come yet. You pulled your gaze back and said to your sister, come on, let's go eat. The kitchen made your favorite braised pork today. Xia broke into a happy smile. The crisis had passed. Life would go on. And in every corner of the world, people were still talking about the stunning display shown today. Still talking about the mysterious power of the Huanyu Group. Still talking about you, this legendary figure who had risen so suddenly. But whatever they said, one fact was now beyond dispute. The Huanyu Group had become a force in this world that could no longer be ignored. And you, a young man from a small county in China, had already taken your place at the top of the world. On her first day in Africa, Xiaohua noticed your savvy servant. Not only is visa a top diplomatic field, but even airlines deliberately depart early for them. She originally thought you were a minor leader here. But when she saw the chat history on your phone, the phone fell off the ground. It was actually a report on the construction progress of the Starfleet. Before she could react, dozens of fighter jets roared overhead. You pat her head to clear her mind. Since you're here, let me show you my true asset. In late July, in Africa, the sun is so intense it seems to melt the earth. But inside your Huanyu Group base, there's an advanced temperature control system. Keeping the room at a pleasant 24-degree angle, You are sitting at the main seat in the Manor's reception hall. Opposite you is a guest from afar, the Deputy Minister of the Long Kingdom Security Department and his team. In your eyes, this Deputy Minister is a spirited elder. Although his hair was gray, his eyes were sharp as an eagle's. Today he wore a dark suit, sat upright, and exuded the typical aura of a soldier. The accompanying team members were all dressed formally, including technical staff. There were diplomats and security experts. What greeted you was a serious and expectant expression on everyone's face. The Deputy Minister spoke, his voice steady and powerful. Mr. Shin, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. I am the Deputy Minister of the Ministry of State Security, here on behalf of Longwa. You are sweating a little, your attitude neither humble nor arrogant. Deputy Minister, you're too polite. Please have a seat. You've had a hard journey. Both sides sat down, and the staff served refreshments. The atmosphere seemed relaxed. But you know in your heart, everyone here knows how much weight this meeting carries. The Vice Minister started the topic with careful and sincere wording. Mr. Shun is young and accomplished, and his overseas achievements are truly admirable. The country is proud to have overseas Longwa people like you. You smiled but didn't accept the compliment. I was just doing what I wanted. Vice Minister, this trip was probably not just for a few polite words. The Vice Minister was not surprised. He nodded and said, Indeed, we came this time to discuss cooperation possibilities with Mr. Shun and Huanyu Group. Cooperation. You picked up your teacup and gently blew on it. What exactly do you mean? The mining expert beside the Deputy Minister spoke. First is the resource development of Heizhou. China's economic development requires abundant mineral resources, and Heizhou is one of the most resource-rich regions. Huanyu Group has been deeply rooted here for 2 years, possessing strong strength and influence. If you can cooperate, that's fine. Before the other party could finish, you agreed. You noticed someone on the team showing a surprised expression, seemingly surprised by your straightforward agreement. The Deputy Minister asked, Mr. Shun, aren't you going to hear the specific terms? You put down your teacup. No need to ask, which region do you want minerals, or what kind of mine? The minister pondered for a moment and frankly said, We have demand for minerals all over Black Island, but most importantly, stability. As for the safe supply channels, as for the exact location, Mr. Shin, where do you think is suitable? You laughed. In Heizhou, as long as I want, anywhere is suitable. You said this calmly, but the dominance contained in it made everyone's hearts flutter. You mean the Vice Minister is tentatively asking? I mean that the Vice Minister can designate any black state country, any mining area, and Huanyu Group to ensure mining rights, transportation safety, and stable supply. If anyone dares to cause trouble, you didn't finish your sentence, but you're sure everyone understands what you mean. If anyone dares to cause trouble, the fate of those people from Yanbei will be an example. The Deputy Minister said, Mr. Shun is very confident in Huanyu Group's strength. You correct yourself not to have confidence, but to the fact that in Heizhou, sometimes force is more effective than any other method. Reasoning, negotiating cooperation, signing agreements, these are certainly important, but without force as a backing. Everything is empty talk. This statement is blunt and harsh, but it is the reality of Heizhou. The Vice Minister exchanged a glance with the team. So, we hope to establish mineral cooperation projects in multiple countries in Heizhou with Huanyu Group. The governments of these countries have good relations with Huanyu Group, mining rights, transportation routes, and security guarantees. These are not issues. Vice Minister asked about the specific cooperation model. You said Huanyu Group is responsible for ensuring mining and transportation safety, charging corresponding security fees. Mining and smelting can be handled by Chinese companies, or we can also provide technical support. Profit sharing can follow industry practices. Most importantly, you pause, watching the Deputy Minister ensure supply stability and avoid interference from other forces. The young diplomat beside the Deputy Minister asked. This other powers mean understatement, referring to the US, Europa, and polar bears. Or if anyone wants to get involved, in Africa, Huanyu Group has the final say. If anyone disagrees, you can give it a try. The meeting room was quiet for a few seconds. The Deputy Minister nodded slowly. Our team will discuss the specific cooperation agreement in detail with your group's professionals. Preliminary estimate. These cooperation projects will involve over 100 billion dragon coins. You agreed readily. Fine. Is there anything else? Someone on the team hesitated, looking at the Deputy Minister. The Deputy took a deep breath. Moving on to the next topic, there is indeed one more thing. We are very interested in certain equipment from Huanyu Group. A coal weapon and equipment unit. The Deputy Minister admitted, yes, especially strategic bombers. The atmosphere in the conference room instantly became delicate. You know very well that strategic bombers are a major power's asset, a core component of a country's strategic deterrent. Although Longwa has its own strategic bombers, their performance still lags behind the US B-1B and B-4. And now, the Huanyu Group under its umbrella not only owns B-1B but also demonstrates performance far beyond the original. You asked, the B-1B deputy minister cautiously said, if possible, we know this is presumptuous. But if these technologies could be used by the country, the team members watched nervously at you, waiting for your answer. You were silent for a few seconds, then gave another affirmative answer. Yes, this time even the deputy minister was surprised, Mr. Shin. You're serious? You smile and ask, do I look like I'm joking? But there are a few things to note. What I'm selling is a redesigned conventional power version using aviation fuel, not nuclear fusion. But even so, its performance far surpasses that of the current American B-1B models. Second, I will provide complete drawings, manufacturing processes, material formulas, and all related technical information. Third, the price is 20 billion dragons. For bombers plus full technology, the price is unbelievably low. For reference, the cost of a single American B-1B is over $500 million, which is over 3 billion dragon coins, and that's the bare metal price. Not including any technology transfers, 20 billion dragon coins, 4 of the world's most advanced strategic bombers, plus a full set of technology. This is practically a free gift. The deputy minister looked at you in disbelief, Mr. Shin. This price. You smiled slightly and said, Yuqing price. After all, I'm from Longwa too. The simple, but the emotion behind it moved everyone present. Still, the technical expert couldn't help but ask, conventional power version. Can it achieve the performance shown in the video? You explained, not fully achieved, but very close. Range is about 30,000 kilometers, maximum speed Mach 2, bomb load 60 tons, stealth performance better than the B-2. Most importantly, you pause and look at the deputy minister. Engine technology, material science, flight control systems, these core technologies, I will provide them all. With Longwa's industrial base, I am fully capable of absorbing them. Even on this basis, further development erupted from the team with exclamations of exclamation. If what you say is true, then the value of this deal will be immeasurable. The deputy minister said seriously, Mr. Shun, I need to confirm. If you are truly willing to provide the full set of technology, including material formulas, manufacturing processes, and even original code, you will nod. All drawings will be printed on paper for easy research and archiving. Technical documentation will be available in both electronic and paper formats. So when can delivery be done? In 3 days? During these 3 days, everyone can rest at the base. 3 days later, for brand new bombers and a full set of technical documentation will be delivered on time. In 3 days, 4 strategic bombers will be built from scratch. We also need to prepare a massive amount of technical data. How is that possible? But seeing your calm expression, no one doubts you. The deputy minister made the decision. 3 days? The price will be 20 billion dragon coins according to Mr. Shun's suggestion. The country won't let you lose out. If there are any other collaborations in the future, I will definitely offer the best terms. You extend your hand. Happy cooperation. The deputy minister holds firmly. Happy cooperation. The meeting ends in a friendly atmosphere. You arrange for the deputy minister and his group to stay as VIPs at the manor, and send people to show them part of the base, of course, the non-core areas you've screened. On her first day in Africa, the campus beauty realized your path was scary. Not only is the visa a top diplomatic field, even the airline deliberately took off early for them. He originally thought you were a junior leader here, but when he saw the chat history on your phone, it dropped and revealed a Starfleet construction progress report. Before he could react, dozens of fighter jets roared overhead. You patted his head to wake up. Since you're here, let me show you my true asset. For the next 3 days, the deputy minister's team will be restricted from operating within the base. They were allowed to visit the training grounds, some equipment display areas, and even watch flight shows, but deeper areas, such as underground base entrances, research centers, and manufacturing plants, were not open. Even so, everything they saw was already perfect. On the evening of the 3rd day, you invited the deputy minister and his party to the airport. At dusk, the airport was lit up like daylight, and what greeted you was a cloudy runway. For silver gray strategic bombers are neatly arranged, reflecting condensed photons under the lights. Their appearance resembles the American B-1B, but with many differences in details. Larger air intakes and smoother fuselage lines. The paint is matte gray. The fuselage is reflected in your Huanyu Group's gray label and Longwa's flag. The Air Force expert in the deputy minister's team widened his eyes. This is brand new, not a modification. You said calmly. Brand new manufacturing, produced specifically for this deal according to the drawings and technical standards you provided. 3 days of expert muttering to themselves. How is this possible? But the facts are right in front of him. leaving him beside the bomber in disbelief. A large transport plane was parked. The cabin door opened, and you could see it was filled with metal boxes. You were explaining those were technical documents, paper drawings, technical manuals, material formulas, and process flow diagrams, a total of 852 boxes. The electronic documents are stored on a dedicated encrypted hard drive, and the password will be given to you separately. The deputy director walks to an open box and casually picks up a stack of blueprints. The drawings are blue and white, with clear lines and detailed markings. These are completely professional-grade engineering drawings. Although he's not a technical expert, he can see the value of these drawings. He turns to look at you. Are you really giving me all of these? You definitely nod in agreement. Everything, but you suggest arriving and quickly organizing an expert team to study them after returning. Some materials require special equipment and processes to produce, but with domestic technical strength, it should be fine. Mr. Shin took a deep breath. On behalf of the country, thank you. No need to thank me. You replied, I just hope these technologies can be used in the right places. You paused, then added. In addition, you have prepared 8 fighter jets to escort you safely to ensure your safe return. They'll take the plane to a designated location and hand it over to your people. The deputy minister was a bit surprised. You've thought it through so thoroughly. You said it's only natural. After all, the journey from Africa to Longwa is long, though probably no one would dare to covet this shipment. But just in case, everything was ready. The deputy minister's team boarded a special plane. Transport planes loaded with technical materials followed closely behind. 4 bombers were on standby on the runway, and 8 improved F-22 fighter jets had already taken flight. Form an escort formation in the air. Before leaving, the vice minister holds your hand. Mr. Shen, when will you return to the country to visit? Your parents and family are all back in China. The country also welcomes your return. Think about it and say in a few days. Once you finish arranging things here, you can return to the country with your sister. It's been a long time since we've seen our parents, so it's time to go back and see them. The deputy minister nodded vigorously. When the time comes, the country will definitely arrange everything and provide the best reception for you and your family. Thank you. Leaving a smile along the way, having a smooth journey. In the middle of night, the aircraft groups took off one after another. Fighters cleared the way at the front, special planes and transport planes in the middle, bombers in the rear, forming a massive formation. Flying northeast toward Longwa, you stand by the airport, watching the fleet disappear into the night sky. Shin Weidong walks up to you. Commander, is this really okay? Those technologies, are you looking at the night sky? There's nothing wrong with that. Those technologies are already outdated for us. If they strengthen the country's defense capabilities, it's good for us. At least the country will be more willing to protect our interests. But on the American side, you can't help but laugh. Just treat them as headaches. Anyway, we built the planes, we drew the blueprints. What can the US say? Sue us for the cleanup. Do they dare come to Heizhou to sue? Shin Weidong laughed too. Indeed. And you look up at the starry sky. Knowing this is just the beginning, there will be more cooperation in the future. You turn around and leave the airport. Let's go prepare for returning home. You must be anxious to wait for the next day. 3 days later, at a military airport in northwest Longwa. For silver gray strategic bombers landed smoothly, taxied to the designated area, and when the hatches opened, pilots and technical experts from the Dragon Nation Air Force swarmed in, closely surrounding these aircraft in the hangars at the airport. Over 800 boxes of technical documents were carefully transported down. A team of hundreds of top experts had been waiting for a long time, splitting into several groups to begin preliminary organization and evaluation of the materials. The more the experts looked, the more excited and amazed they became. The value of these technical documents far exceeded their imagination. Meanwhile, in a conference room in Yenjing, the vice minister was reporting to the highest authorities. This was the situation. Shin Feng readily agreed to the cooperation. In just 3 days, he delivered 4 brand new strategic bombers and a full set of technical documentation. The price was 20 billion dragon coins, truly a generous price. The leaders on the screen all wore serious expressions. A leader asked about the results of the technical data assessment, noting that the preliminary assessment had been completed. The deputy minister said the expert group concluded that these technologies are real, complete, and advanced, especially in material science and engine technology. At least 50 years ahead of us. The sound of breathing echoed in the conference room. Another leader asked Shin Feng what his conditions were. The vice minister shook his head, saying there were no conditions. He simply said, I hope these technologies can be used in the right places. Also, in a few days, he will return to China with his sister to visit their parents. Leader Chun Yin, what do you think of this person? The vice minister honestly said, I can't see through him. He possesses strength and skills we cannot understand. But at the same time, he shows deep affection for his family and a sense of identity with the country. He doesn't seem politically ambitious, but more like someone who wants a peaceful life but is forced to wield too much power. His attitude toward the country is, at least for now, friendly. This collaboration is proof of this, and he has clearly stated that he is from Longwa. I believe that as long as we do not threaten his family or interfere with his career, and he is willing to maintain good relations with the country, the leaders will make the final decision, so we will maintain this relationship. During his return home, he gave the highest level of hospitality, but not excessively to avoid causing his displeasure. At the same time, he strengthened the protection of his family, not surveillance but real protection. Understood. Half a month later. Morning in Africa. The runway at the base airport shimmers with pale golden light under the morning sun. On the first day the campus beauty sister lands in Africa, she realizes your route is quite scary. Not only is visa a top field in diplomacy, but even airlines do. He even deliberately took off early for them. He originally thought you were a junior leader here, but when he saw the chat history on your phone, he was so shocked he dropped it on the spot. It was actually a progress report on the construction of the Starfleet. Before he could react, dozens of fighter jets roared overhead. You patted his head to wake up. Since you're here, let me show you my true asset. On the airport tarmac, a sleekly styled, massive private jet was quietly parked. Its size far exceeds that of typical road planes, with a length of over 80 meters and a wingspan close to 70 meters. It is painted entirely silver and white, with a simple star emblem on the fuselage that shines brilliantly in the sunlight. This is your personal jet. With nuclear fusion power, the range is theoretically unlimited, and the interior space is equivalent to a mobile luxury villa. At this moment, the idle elevator has been lowered, and the uniformed crew is conducting the final checks beside it. A larger Kampong transport airport with the rear cabin door open, you watch the machinery, slowly loading vehicles and other supplies into the cabin. First is that white Bentley O Road, the seat frame my sister has assigned to you. The streamlined body dazzles beautifully in the morning light, followed by two black Macbook GLS 600s. One is your personal seat frame. The other is a gift you prepare for your parents. And then a deep blue Audi S8. This is the surprise you plan to give your brother Shinemo. After that, there are 10 Mercedes-Benz cars, all black, with specially treated windows so you can't see inside from the outside. These are the seats of your 36-person personal guard team. Finally, some wooden crates filled with wine, cigars, and other gifts gathered from around the world. Next to the transport plane, 36 fully armed guards lined up neatly, dressed in plain clothes. Black tactical pants, gray polo shirts, tactical vests. Everyone was equipped with rifles and pistols. These weapons were specially permitted by the Dragon Kingdom to be brought into the country. Shin Weidong stood at the front of the line to report to you. Commander, all supplies are loaded. The guard team is ready. All base affairs have been arranged. Shin Moyen is in charge of the underground base. I'm in charge of the surface manor and external liaisons. You nod. While I'm not here, the base is on level 2 alert. If anyone dares to cause trouble, kill them without mercy. Shin Weidong replied. Understood. Pat him on the shoulder. Good. The base is yours. Shin Weidong stood at attention and saluted. Guaranteed to complete the mission. On the other side, Shen Xia, her 3 roommates, and Lin Xiaoyu had already boarded the private jet. The girls excitedly looked around in the cabin, exclaiming in amazement. Lin Xiaoxiao stood in the spacious center of the cabin. She exclaimed, "Oh my God! This plane is bigger than my home." Looking around at the luxurious decor, leather sofas, marble coffee tables, artworks on the walls, and even a small bar counter, Zhang Yu pushed open a door. Look here, inside is a fully equipped gym, and there's even a gym on the plane. Li Xiu walked into a room with a large bed and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the scenery below. This was so luxurious. Shin Xia pulled Lin Xiaoyu around the cabin. Sister Xiaoyu, look at this. This is a massage chair my brother specially had someone prepare. He said long-haul flights would be very comfortable. Lin Xiaoyu's face had already regained its color, though there was still some shadow deep in her eyes. But overall, she looked much better. She looked at Shin Xia with gratitude. Thank you, and thank you, your brother. Shin Xia smiled. We're all good friends. Why say all this? At that moment, the captain's announcement sounded, his voice gentle and magnetic. Ladies, the plane is about to take off. Please fasten your seatbelts. And you did one last check to make sure everything was ready. You're a bit nervous. Excited again. I haven't seen my parents in ages. And that silly kid is still around. Then the cabin door slowly closed. Outside the window, 8 improved Jufu Type 2 fighters had already taken off, forming an escort formation in the air. The captain's voice rang out again. Commander, all planes are ready. You calmly gave the order for takeoff. The engine started, emitting a deep and powerful roar. The four-person plane taxied slowly, speeding up and higher. Finally, it lightly left the runway and soared into the blue sky, with transport planes close behind. 8 fighters split into 2 groups. 4 cleared the way ahead, 4 escorted twice. The large group adjusted its course over the flying vessel. Flying toward the Dragon Nation, inside the cabin, you peer through the window at the base gradually receding below. The land you cultivated for 2 years has now become a force center that cannot be ignored. And now you must go home. The flight was incredibly smooth. The fusion-powered plane had almost no vibrations and noise was kept to a minimum. The girls were initially a bit excited but soon immersed in a comfortable flight experience. You sit by the window watching the clouds sweep by. Your thoughts drift back to the scene 2 years ago when you left. Back then, you were still a fresh college graduate, full of confusion about the future. Who would have thought that 2 years later, you'll come back like this? Shinxia sat down next to you. Bro, what are you thinking? You turned to your sister and said, thinking, time flies so fast. Do you remember when I left? You were still in high school, crying and refusing to let me go. Shinxia blushed. No way, I didn't cry. I didn't cry. Then who was holding onto my suitcase and wouldn't let go? Saying they wanted to go to Heizhou with me? Shinxia defended herself, saying, I'm just worried about you. Who knows how things will be in Heizhou? You chuckled softly and asked, now I understand. Shinxia whispered, got it, bro. You've really changed a lot. Huh? You used to be amazing, but you still felt like an ordinary person. Now, you hesitated for a moment. Now you feel like a superhero in a movie, or the leader of some mysterious organization. You were silent for a few seconds. Xia, you think this kind of brother, okay? Shinxia didn't hesitate. Of course, you protected us. What has become of Siyu's cousin? Who protected Siyu? You're still my brother. That's enough. Are you not thinking about it in your heart? She reached out and ruffled her sister's hair, softly saying, silly girl. Shinxia suddenly thought of something. But bro, isn't the show going back a bit too grand this time? There's a private jet, a security team, and luxury cars. Will your parents be scared? Admit it calmly. It's definitely scared, but some things must be gradually adapted to. I can't let them worry about me anymore. That was Shinxia nodding. For the past 2 years, every time Mom called, she secretly wiped away tears. Dad didn't say anything, but I knew he was so worried he couldn't sleep. You looked at your sister and said, so this time when we go back, I want them to know that their son is not only safe but also living a good life. I want them to be proud of me. Shinxia said softly, they've always been proud of you. Even if you're just an ordinary office worker, they're proud of you. You smiled and said nothing, clearly knowing in your heart that your sister was right. Parents' love is truly unconditional. But you still want to give your parents a better life. No more worrying about money. No more working from dawn to dusk running that little convenience store and enjoying your later years. That's part of the meaning of your hard work. The flight lasted about 10 hours. As the plane began to descend, the scene outside the window had already transformed into the land of Longguiyu province. Green farmland, winding rivers, villages and towns of Xinluoqi, all in sight. The captain's announcement sounded. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to arrive at Shenyang-Mingdo Airport. Please fasten your seatbelts and put away the small table. Shinxia and her roommates excitedly gathered by the window. Is that Shenyang? It looks so big. My home is right there. Finally back, the plane lands smoothly. As the cabin door slowly opens, a carefully prepared scene unfolds before your eyes. On the first day Sister Xiaohua lands in Africa, she realizes your path must be scary too. Not only is visa a top-tier diplomatic field, even the airline deliberately took off early for them. She originally thought you were a junior leader here, but when she saw the chat records on your phone, the phone dropped from the scene. It was actually a report on the construction progress of the Starfleet. Before she could react, dozens of fighter jets roared overhead. You touched her head, saying, since you're here, let me show you my true asset. On the dedicated tarmac at the Mindong airport, several rows of people were already waiting. There were local officials in suits, airport staff in uniform, and several people with unique personalities. You could tell at a glance that they were reception teams sent by the Ministry of State Security. Next to the tarmac, a red carpet stretched from the stairs all the way to the terminal. On both sides stood a team member, dressed neatly in uniform with a solemn expression. Shinxia quietly asked behind you, bro, you arranged this formation in advance. You shook your head. It's not me. It's arranged by the state. You walk down the stairs first. A middle-aged man in his 50s, with a refined demeanor, immediately comes forward. The man warmly shakes your hand. Mr. Shun, Welcome back to China. I am Director of the Special Affairs Department of the Ministry of State Security. Mr. Chun, this is Mayor Wang of Shenyang City, and this is the County Magistrate of Huaixin. After introducing each one, you politely greeted everyone. Your attitude was appropriate and composed, neither servile nor arrogant, neither overbearing nor overbearing. You could tell that. The officials present all nodded silently, as if they were confident in their hearts. This young man was indeed extraordinary. At the same time, the transport plane landed, the rear cabin door opened, and the vehicle slowly drove out. 2 black Macbach, 1 blue Audi F8, and 10 black Mercedes Giants lined up on the tarmac, and a breathing sound came from all around. I thought, this Bentley Continental is worth 5 or 6 million. The Macbach GLS 600 costs 2 to 3 million each, and all 10 Giants are top spec, each costing 2 million. The fleet together is worth 30 to 40 million. Notice the airport staff and passengers watching from afar. Everyone took out their phones to take photos in this direction. Soon, these photos and videos about you started circulating on social media. After a brief exchange with the reception team, you politely declined the city government's invitation. Thank you all for your kindness. But I've been away from home for 2 years and want to go back to see my parents as soon as possible and meet again another day. Mayor Wang quickly said, I understand. I understand. Mr. Shun's filial piety is commendable. We've already arranged everything. From the airport to Huaixin, there will be police cars guiding you all the way. Make sure you and your family are safe. You nod in thanks. Sorry for the trouble. At this moment, Shin Xiao's roommates and Lin Xiaoyu came over to say goodbye. Lin Xiaoxia, brother Shinfeng were heading home first. Thank you for bringing us back. Zhang Yu smiled at you and said, yes, the journey was truly amazing. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. Li Xiyu held Lin Xiaoyu's hand and said, my cousin said that once he fully recovers, she will definitely visit to thank him. You gently reminded him. Be careful on the way and sometimes contact at any time. Then, guided by staff, other girls head to the regular terminal to transfer flights home. While on your side, the convoy is ready with 36 guards boarding separately. Swift and focused, forming a tight defense around you. Director Chun of the Ministry of State Security led a team of 4 and also boarded a business van. They would accompany you the entire trip. Even if it was reception, it was coordinated. Director Chun took the initiative to open the door of the military forces car for you. Mr. Shin, you just shook your head. I'll ride in a Macbach. The military force, let Xia. Shin Xia was stunned on the side. I'll drive. You looked at your sister and smiled. Haven't you always wanted to drive? Today I'll let you have a blast. There's a driver here, you can just sit in the front passenger seat. That's great. Shin Xia excitedly jumped into Bingley's passenger seat, and you got into the first Macbach. Your brother Shinemo is already waiting in the car. He gets so excited as soon as he sees you get in. This car is so cool. You smile and calmly promise. As long as you like it, that's enough. From now on, this is yours, really. Shinmo's eyes widened in disbelief. Bro, you're so good to me. The convoy slowly drove out of the airport. Through the window, you saw 2 police motorcycles guiding the way, and 2 police cars escorting behind. In the middle is the luxury convoy you brought back, and finally, 2 police cars are pressing down. The entire convoy stretches nearly 100 meters, with the grand procession at the entrance to the highway in history. All lanes have been cleared in advance, specially opened for your journey. Traffic police are stationed at every exit along the way, ensuring your journey home is smooth and unobstructed. You lean back in your car seat, gazing out at those familiar scenery outside the window. 2 years have passed, and in your eyes, this land hasn't changed much. It's still as it was in your memory. But you know deep down, the person who looks at the scenery is completely different from when you left years ago. Shinemo leaned in and asked, Bro, do you know what people call you online now? You casually asked, what do you call me, King of Heijo? Heijo Big Shot, the real-life dragon Outyin. Shinemo counted on his fingers for you. Some even say you're the heir to a hidden family, inheriting alien technology or some kind of system quality. You listen without a laugh and turn to look at him. What do you think? I think. Shinemo really thought about it. You're my brother, that's enough. No matter how amazing you are, you'll always be my brother. Though simple, it stirred a long-lost warmth in your heart. Yes, you tell yourself in your heart. No matter what your status is outside or how much power you have, once you get home, you'll be Shinfeng, the eldest son of the Shin family, the older brother of Shinxia and Shinemo. That's enough. The convoy drove on the highway for over an hour. Finally, after exiting Huaixin, more police cars and local officials are waiting at the exit, ready to welcome you. Upon entering Huaixin City, the scene before your eyes is even more spectacular on both sides of the main road. Every so often, a traffic police officer enforces the order, and at intersections, police maintain order. On both sides of the road, large crowds of onlookers have already gathered. You can feel the burning gazes of those head-to-head motorcades through the car windows. Look, the convoy is here. On my first day, so many luxury cars and police cars have arrived. Which big shot is here? I heard Shinfeng is back. It's Shinfeng, the one from our county who made a fortune in Heizhou. That old Shin family villain, he's so formidable. Starting with new words, people took out their phones to take photos and videos of your convoy. The convoy crossed the main road of the county town and turned onto a relatively narrow but tidy street. This is the old town, lined with all kinds of familiar little shops. Convenience stores, barber shops, hardware stores. In the middle of the street, in front of the small shop with a sign that says convenience store, people had already gathered. You saw the police cordon had been set up, several police officers were maintaining order, and the motorcade slowly stopped in front of the store. The first to get out were the bodyguards, who quickly formed a security circle around your car. Then the Bentley's door opened, and Shun got out of the passenger seat, immediately causing a burst of gasps. Then, the door of your Maba was also opened. You can't get off the bus, wearing just a simple white shirt paired with black pants, looking low-key and steady, but you can feel the entire crowd's eyes instantly converging on you. Not just because of money. It's even more because of the aura of someone in power. At that moment, a trembling voice came from the shop entrance. Xiaofeng, Xiaohua. On her first day in Africa, she realized your path was terrifying. Not only is the visa a top-tier field in diplomacy, even the airline deliberately takes off early for them. She originally thought you were a junior leader here, but when she saw the chat history on your phone, she was so shocked she dropped it on the spot. It was actually a report on the construction progress of the Starfleet. Before she could react, dozens of fighter jets roared overhead. You touched her head, thinking, since you're here, let me show you your brother's true asset. You suddenly turn your head, and your parents' frail figures come into view. After 2 years apart, you noticed that your father's temples had grown more gray, and the wrinkles at your mother's eyes had deepened. But the smiles they gave you were still as warm as in memory. You quickly walked forward, opened your arms, and hugged your parents tightly. Mom and Dad. Mom holds you, tears streaming down your face. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. Father pats your back hard, your voice choked with emotion. Good boy, good boy. Silence gets out of another car. Mom, Dad, I'm back too. Father smiled and rubbed his youngest son's mouth. You little one. Learn from your brother and focus carefully. Then you turned to the onlookers, smiled, and waved. Uncles, aunties, brothers, and sisters. Hello, everyone. I'm Shinfeng. I'm back. People respond warmly. Xiaofeng, hello. Welcome home. You've made a difference. You've given us your true glory. Many people here know you or your parents. Now seeing you come back in such a grand style, everyone was genuinely happy for you. You continued. Thank you all for coming to see me. I just got back today, so I'll get to know my family first. When I have time, I'll have a good chat with you all. After a brief exchange with the villagers, I thanked the police officers who maintained order. Thank you all for your hard work. I've prepared some small gifts for you, and I'll have someone deliver them soon. The leading officer quickly said, Mr. Shin, you're too kind. This is our duty. You nodded, then walked into the convenience store with your family. What catches your eye is still the same as I remember, not big, about 60 square meters. The shelves are filled with all kinds of daily necessities and food. There's a small cashier counter by the wall, and on top of it is an old computer. But you noticed the store had clearly been carefully cleaned today. The products on the shelves were neatly arranged, and in the middle was a round table already filled with dishes, braised pork and steamed fish. Stir-fried vegetables and stewed chicken soup are all home-style dishes. Shinxia exclaimed, Mom, you've made so many dishes. Mother wiped her tears and smiled. Your brother hasn't been back for 2 years. Of course he needs to make something better. Sit down, sit down. The whole family gathered around the table. Looking at the table full of dishes, a long-lost warmth wells up in your heart. This is the true taste of home, simple, plain, yet genuine. Mother picked up a big piece of meat and put it in your bowl. Come on, Xiaofeng, try this braised pork. Your favorite food? You quickly said, Mom, I'll do it myself. Father laughed and said, You don't know. For the past 2 years, your mom has been nagging all day about you eating and sleeping poorly in Africa. Now that you're finally back, let her take good care of you. You felt a sting in your nose and took a bite of the braised pork. The taste was just as you remembered, rich but not greasy, fragrant and sweet, delicious. Mother smiled and said, If it's good, eat more. Shinxia laughed beside her. Mom, you're being biased. I want it too, all of it. Mother happily serves food to everyone. Shinamo eagerly asks, Bro, are all those cars outside really for me? You nod. The troops are for Xiaxia. I have a MacBook for me to use. One for mom and dad. Audi S8 for you. Those big shots are the security team. You don't need to worry about the security team. The guard team. Father hesitated for a moment. Xiaofeng, you came back with so many people and you even brought guns, right? You explained, Dad, don't worry. Those were all legitimate security personnel, and the weapons were specially approved. They were brought back to protect the family's safety. Mother's expression changed. Xiaofeng, did you offend someone outside? You comforted them. Mom, don't worry. It's nothing serious. With these guards around, no one dares to cause trouble. You paused and added, besides, the country has sent people to protect us this time. Among those cars outside are people from the Ministry of State Security. Father was surprised. The government had sent people. You nod in confirmation. Some of the things I've done in Heizhou are helpful to the country, so the country values our safety highly. That's half true, half false. But you think it's enough to put your parents at ease. Mother breathes a sigh of relief. That's good, that's good. Xiaofeng, I don't ask you to be very successful. Just hope you stay safe. You earnestly promised. I will. Mom. The whole family ate and chatted, occasionally exclaiming in amazement. Shin Mo's eyes lit up, envying your experience. After dinner, you asked the guards to unload the gifts from the car. Mother looked at the mountain of gifts and was a bit surprised. Why buy so many things? How much money would it cost? You smiled and said, Mom, your son has money now, so you can use it with peace of mind. Don't work so hard anymore. If you want to open a convenience store, just open it for fun. If not, close it. I'll support you all. Father shook his head. No way, we're still young and can do it. Besides, I've run the shop my whole life and I don't even know what it will do when it closes. You're not forcing me. Well, let's see what you guys are. We've talked for a long time. Until late at night, the street outside gradually quieted down. The crowd had long since dispersed, leaving only a few black giant Mercedes parked quietly by the roadside. The bodyguard was nearby giving instructions, and you and your family sat around the living room sofa. On the coffee table sat the chrysanthemum tea my mother brewed, steaming with bird's steam. This was the first true family reunion in 2 years. Shin Mo sat cross-legged on the sofa, chopping an apple in his hand, his eyes sparkling as he looked at you. Bro, you plan to invest in your hometown and put down the apples. Seriously brighten your expression, then make sure you're serious. Then he scratches his head. Bro, I'm not trying to discourage you, but here, White Line, Shenyang, even the whole Yu province, and the words high-tech are all about. It doesn't seem quite related. Ask him why. Look, Shin Mo counts on his fingers. Poor infrastructure, we're far from the coast, logistics costs are high, transportation is inconvenient, and second, there's no industrial foundation. There aren't many traditional industries, let alone high-tech industries. Third, and most importantly, there's no talent. You quietly listen to what your brother says, you understand all this. Population outflow, backward industries, and lack of educational resources. These are all realities. Shin Mo continued. And then there's the high-tech industry. Right now, Longbo and Mibwa are locked in a fierce battle over chips, completely choked off. We can't even build a 28-nanometer lithography machine. Not to mention 7 nanometers or 5 nanometers, and the materials, the gap in basic materials is huge. New energy vehicles' batteries, range, and safety are all issues. He smiled wryly and said, Bro, it's not that I don't believe it, but high-tech is such a thing. Money alone isn't enough. It needs top talent, a complete industrial chain, decades of technological accumulation. We have nothing here. After hearing your brother's words, gently set down your teacup. You're right. Under traditional thinking, this place really isn't suitable for developing high technology. You interrupt him, but that's the traditional approach. Silently, you forgot something. I, Shin Feng, never follow the traditional route. The campus beauty's first day landing in Africa. He realized your approach was scary. Not only is visa a top diplomatic field, but even airlines deliberately take off early for them. He originally thought you were a minor leader here, but when he saw the chat history on your phone, the phone dropped off the spot, revealing a report on the construction progress of Starfleet. Before he could react, dozens of fighter jets roared overhead. You stroked his head, saying, Since you're here, let me show you my true asset. You stand up and say, No talent, but I have. I have the best scientists, the top engineers. I have as much as I want. You say there's no technology, but I have technology. Chips, materials, energy. Artificial intelligence, whatever technology you want, I have it, and it's the most advanced. You say you don't have an industrial foundation, But that's fine. I can build a complete industrial chain from scratch. You see, I have no shortage of it. So, all the problems you worry about aren't really my problems. Silence opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but found nothing to say. Yeah, you've already shown too many incredible abilities. Overnight, you transferred special forces from Africa to make annual bonuses. Having unstoppable intercontinental missiles and nuclear weapons, how could you say you want to do high-tech? What's impossible? Shinemo couldn't help but ask. But bro, even if you have talent, technology, and money, why do you have to do it here? In Gentlemen, in Shanghai, in Yanjing, isn't it easier? Those places already have foundations. You said it simply because this is hometown, because I don't want the young people of my hometown to always have a background for survival. People look at you with strange eyes, because I want world-class high-tech to be born here. You walk back to the sofa and sit down, your tone calm but firm. Silently, you're right. Since our hometown lacks a good university. So we build high-tech enterprises, we run them, create world-class job opportunities so young people don't have to go out and can find good jobs right at home. Silence was moved by your words. He has heard such grand statements before, but when you say them, they feel completely different. It's not empty slogans, but plans about to be realized. Silently asks in confusion, which field do you want to start in? You pause for a moment, then say chips, starting with chips. Chips, chips. Silence's eyes widened. Do you know how complex the chip industry is? Design, manufacturing, packaging. Testing, just one lithography machine alone has blocked so many companies. You nodded, I know, but I also know why we're choked off. It's not because we're working hard, not because we're not working hard, but because we're just getting started. Few accumulations and being blocked by patents and technical barriers. Shinemo not only asked in confusion, so how can we break through? You smiled slightly and said, with a brand new technological route, the basic chip is already close to its physical limit. Everyone is looking for next-generation chip technologies, carbon-based chips, quantum chips, photonic chips. These are the future. You paused, but I have all these future technologies. Silent gasped. Carbon-based chips, quantum chips, these are still technologies in the lab. You claim to have all the technology and you keep talking. It's not just chips. Materials are also key. Superconducting materials, high-strength lightweight alloys, new semiconductor materials. These are the foundation of industry. With good materials, we can make good equipment and products. And then there's new energy batteries. Currently, lithium batteries have low energy density, poor safety, and slow charging. I can make products with energy density 10 times higher, charging 10 times faster, completely non-catching and explosive new batteries, and artificial intelligence, biotechnology, aerospace. Counting each field one by one, the tone calmly says, what to have for dinner tonight? But every word, all represent the most cutting-edge technology in today's world. Shinemo listened in amazement. He felt like he wasn't chatting with you, but listening to lines from a sci-fi movie. He cautiously asked, bro, do you really have all of these? You said for sure that it was all there, and not just theories in the lab, but mature technology capable of mass production. The living room fell silent again. Father Xinjiangwo stubbed out his cigarette and looked at you seriously. Xiaofeng, you said these things and you really want to do them. You nodded seriously. You really have to do it. Dad, I'm not acting on impulse. I have a complete plan. Mom asked worriedly. Then how much money will you invest? These sounds expensive. Money isn't the issue. I can't say the exact numbers right now, but what I can say is much more than you think. And these investments aren't for making money, at least not in the short term. What I want to do is change my hometown, change the fate of this province. Xinjiangwo was silent for a long time. As a father, he was proud of his son's achievements, but at the same time, worried about his wild ideas about doing high-tech projects in a place like Huaxian. It sounded like a fantasy, but he understands you. You've never been one to talk big since you were little. Since you dare to say it, you must be confident. Xinjiangwo finally asked, what do you need to do at home? You smiled and replied, for now, no need. Mom, Dad, you two just live well. Don't worry about that. Since I've decided to do it, I'll be fully prepared. At this moment, Xinxia also raised his hand. Bro, I want to help. You smiled and said, just focus on your live stream. This is part of the promotion. When the time comes, you can live stream our factory and research institute so the whole world can see what changes are happening in the pre-audit. Xinxia nodded vigorously. The family chatted for a long time, and you described your initial ideas in detail. Establish a high-tech industrial park in Huaxian, divided into several sectors. Chip design and manufacturing, new material R&D, new energy technology, artificial intelligence, and robotics. Shinemo asked another key question. But bro, where does your talent come from? Even if you have the technology, someone still needs to implement it. You mysteriously said, I have my own arrangements. You'll meet them. In fact, you're planning to use bioengineers, research-type bioengineers. Having top-tier knowledge and technology and being loyal and reliable is the best candidate to implement these programs. Of course, you will also recruit some real human scientists and engineers, but the core team must be biochemicals. Shin Mo said, there's still a university. If we really want to develop high-tech in our hometown, we must have a supporting university. Otherwise, we can't cultivate local talent and will have to rely on outsiders. You look at the land with admiration. That's right. So I want to build a university. One school isn't enough. I want to build a university town. Shin Mo warns. University town. Do you know how hard it is to build a good university? Faculty, equipment, student sources. You pause. The university I want to build is not an ordinary university. It is a research-oriented university directly connected to industry needs. From freshman year, students can access cutting-edge research and participate in real projects. After graduation, they can directly work in our company. Shin Mo was so shocked by this blueprint that he was speechless. If it really works, Huaixin's entire preset will undergo earth-shaking changes. But with such a large-scale investment, the government will talk to them. Tomorrow I'll contact them. This isn't just my business. I need government support. Shin Jiangwo nodded. It's something we should communicate with the government. Such a big issue we can't do without government support. I know, so this time I'm not just here to visit relatives, but also to discuss cooperation. As night deepened, the family chatted for a while longer before each returning to their rooms to rest. You returned to your own room, without turning on the lights, just standing by the window. Outside, the night was very quiet under the white lines, with only scattered lights in the distance. Compared to the city of Shanghai, which never sleeps, this place feels like another world. But soon things will be completely different here. It's all about change, to prove it, to make this ancient land revitalized, and you have the ability to make all this happen. On the first day Xiaohua's sister arrived in Africa, she discovered your wild servant. Not only is visas a top diplomatic field, even airlines have to deliberately take off early for them. He originally thought you were a junior leader here, but when he saw the chat records on your phone, the phone fell off the spot. It was actually a report on the construction progress of Starfleet, and before he could react, dozens of fighter jets. It howled from above your head. You patted his head, saying, since you're here, let me show you my true asset. The next day, Shin Mo brought a box of bottled water into the shop, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and said to you, brother, you've really made up your mind. You nod and say, I have to go to the county government for a meeting this morning. Shen Jiangwo looked up from behind the counter, his eyes complicated as he looked at you. Xiaofeng, what you've done always feels too big. Chips, materials, university achievements. How much does this cost? You calmly said, money isn't the problem is time. Mother poked her head out of the kitchen, holding her mother's hand. The youngest son of Uncle Wang's family just returned from the south last month and said there was layoffs at the factory over there. He worked at an electronics factory for 8 years and was laid off just now. Shun Jiangwo continued. There's also old Li's daughter, who goes to university in the provincial capital. She said she's from 211, but 2 years after graduation, she's still renting and looking for a job. She came back last month. They say they want to take the civil service exam, but there are only a few positions in our county. These daily trivial matters are a microcosm of countless families in Huaixin and the entire Shenyang area. You listen quietly, and your resolve grows even stronger. At 8:30 a.m., several black sedans slowly stopped in front of the convenience store. The first was your Maybach box, followed by 2 Mercedes-Benz Giants. 8 security guards got out and got inside. The convoy slowly drove away from the convenience store and headed toward the county government. At exactly 9 in the morning, the government meeting room was already packed with people at the tables. On one side were representatives from Longhua at the national level, except for Director Chun, whom they had met before. There were also several bureau-level officials from the National Development and Reform Commission, Ministry of Science and Technology, and Ministry of Industry and Information Technology. On the other side were leaders from Shenyang City and Huai County, with the municipal party secretary, mayor, county party secretary, county head, and other key officials all present. The atmosphere in the conference room was somewhat delicate. Officials at the national level wore serious expressions, while local officials appeared both excited and nervous. They had been informed yesterday that there was an important meeting today, only knowing that major investments were involved. But when they saw that leaders from national ministries were present in person, only then did he realize this was no ordinary investment promotion. The conference room door was pushed open, and he entered accompanied by 4 security guards. Following behind him were 10 team members, 5 chip experts, and 5 materials specialists. All were biochemical people appearing to be between 30 and 50 years old. They were already smiling and nodding to everyone present. "Hello, leaders. Sorry to keep you waiting." Director Chen stood up first. "Mr. Shin, please have a seat. Let me introduce you. This is Mr. Shen Feng, founder of Huanyu Group." After a round of polite applause, the meeting officially began. A leader from the National Development and Reform Commission came to see Mr. Shen and said, "I heard you are interested in investing in your hometown. Could you talk specifically about your plan? Everyone's eyes are on you." You raise 2 fingers. The main 2 directions are the chip industry, the second is the basic materials industry. A whisper echoed through the conference room. Chips and high-end materials are indeed the most urgent breakthrough areas in the country right now. But can a county really support such a high-tech industry? The director of the Ministry of Science and Technology couldn't help but ask, "Mr. Shen, the chip industry is crucial for talent. Supporting supply chain requirements are extremely high. Huaxian's current infrastructure and talent reserves are probably not a problem. If you interrupt with a firm tone, these are not problems. Huanyu Group has a complete technical system from design and manufacturing to packaging and testing. All proprietary technology. As for talent, we will cultivate it ourselves." Officials from the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology are leaning forward. "Mr. Shen, what is the specific path of chip technology you mentioned?" "Currently, we are mainly catching up on the 28 nanometers to 14 nanometers process. 7 nanometers is still in the PR phase." You calmly said, "It's not a base-based chip. We're developing carbon-based chip technology, which has already achieved mass production. Its performance is over 100 times that of traditional base-based chips, and power consumption is reduced by 70%. The cost is only 1/3 that of a base chip with the same performance." The director of the Ministry of Science and Technology almost jumped up from his chair. "Mr. Shen, are you sure it's 100 times higher? This has already surpassed the limits of Moore's law." You nodded. Looking at a biochemical expert beside me, "Dr. Shin, please briefly introduce him." The biochemical man called Dr. Shin stood up. He looked about 50 years old, wore gold-rimmed glasses, and had an elegant demeanor. "Hello, leaders. I am Shun Wenyuan, head of the Chip R&D Center at Huanyu Group. The carbon-based chip we have developed uses a brand-new carbon nanotube array architecture, effectively suppressing quantum fragmentation effects. The currently mass-produced Huanyu 1 chip is available. The main clock speed can reach 120 GHz, 256 cores, supports 1024 threads for parallel processing, and a series of technical terms and golden parameters left the officials present stunned. The NDRC officials quickly took notes in their notebooks. His hand trembled a little. If this technology is true, it will completely change the global chip industry landscape. "Mr. Shin, you plan to use this technology." You smiled and said, "I will put it in the loop, the entire industrial chain. From carbon nanotube material fabrication, chip design, wafer manufacturing to packaging and testing, everything is completed on the loop. It is estimated that a single chip industry segment can create over 5 trillion yuan in GDP for the loop, totaling 5 trillion yuan. The county magistrate of the Ring Line repeated this number. Last year, the total GDP of the Ring Line was only 28.6 billion. What does 5 trillion yuan mean? It's 20 times the current GDP of Shenyang City, and 70% of the province's GDP as a project. The county party secretary's hand trembled slightly under the table. He suppressed his excitement. "Mr. Shen, what about the materials industry?" Another biochemical expert stood up. "I am Shen Wengua, head of materials R&D. With the graphene we are about to mass produce. Titanium alloy composites are an example. Their strength is 8 times that of aerospace aluminum, their weight is only half, and their corrosion resistance surpasses that of stainless steel. Once mass-produced, this material will completely transform the aerospace and automotive manufacturing industries." You added that the materials industry also generates trillions in GDP, and more importantly, it can drive the upgrading and development of dozens of downstream industries. The conference room is silent, with only the sound of air conditioning running and officials slightly heavy breathing. The secretary of the Shenyang Municipal Party Committee took a deep breath. "Mr. Shen, your plan is indeed impressive, but I must ask you one question. Why did you choose Huaxian? From a business perspective, the Yangtze River Delta and Pearl River Delta have better industrial foundations and talent reserves." You paused, your voice deepening. "My parents are from Huaxian. I grew up in Huaxian. I know how smart and hardworking the young people here are. They just lack opportunities. My high school classmates were geniuses who got into Tsinghua and Peking University. There are talented students who have won awards in provincial math competitions, But after graduation, either they stay in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, or Shenzhen and can't come back, or they go back to their hometowns and can't find a suitable job. Your voice echoes in the conference room. I'm not building a few factories. I'm building a complete one. A world-class industrial cluster, and the core competitiveness of this cluster is not cheap land and labor, but technology, innovation, and the world-class R&D platform we can provide. Just like the local officials here. So I have to do a third thing. Plan a university town in Huaixin. The Shenyang Municipal Party Secretary's eyes lit up. The campus beauty's sister landed in Africa on her first day in Africa, and the servant noticed your connections. Not only is visa a top diplomatic field, even the airline deliberately took off early for them. He originally thought you were a junior leader here, but when he saw the chat history on your phone, it dropped and revealed a report on the construction progress of Starfleet. Before he could react, dozens of fighter jets roared overhead. You touched his head. Since you're here, let me show you your true asset. Yes, you nodded. An applied university deeply cooperating with Huanyu Group. The program directly aligns with industry demands. Students enroll and participate in practical projects. Graduates who pass the assessment can join Huanyu Group. We also establish research institutes and postdoctoral stations to attract top global talent. The director of the Ministry of Science and Technology slammed the table excitedly. Good, Mr. Shen. If you can really do it, this will not only be a blessing for Huai County, but also a blessing for the entire central region. The NDRC officials are more concerned about practical issues. Mr. Shen, such a huge investment must require a lot of land. What are your considerations for the site selection? You have prepared for the Chip Industrial Park. I plan to place it in Xinjia Village and the surrounding area, where the terrain is relatively flat. Currently, the main areas are farmland and villages, with relatively small demolition volumes and proximity to provincial roads, convenient transportation. The Huaixin County Mayor immediately expressed his commitment. Mr. Shun, please rest assured, we will fully support the land acquisition and demolition work. We will set up a dedicated working group led by me to ensure the project land is available on time. You nod in agreement. Also, regarding the university town, I suggest choosing the site in the western part of the county seat, where the environment is better. It is suitable for building campuses and can rely on the existing living facilities in the county town. The mayor of Shenyang immediately took over. Mr. Shen, the construction of the university town involves approval at the provincial and even national levels. We will immediately initiate the application process, striving for special handling and approval as soon as possible. The meeting lasted a full 3 hours, from initial shock to detailed discussion, and then to concrete implementation arrangements. Officials from each department raised their own questions and suggestions. You and your team answered each one, and the proposals you provided were both professional and feasible. At noon, as the meeting was nearing its end, the Shenyang Party Secretary gave a concluding speech. Today's meeting showed me the patriotism of a private entrepreneur. We also see the ability of a world-class technology company to change the regional development pattern. Relevant national departments will fully support Huanyu Group's investment projects in Huaixin, making the greatest changes in policy, approval, and supporting measures. He looked at you and solemnly said, Mr. Shen, what you are presenting today is not just an investment record, but also a blueprint for regional revitalization. On behalf of the relevant national departments, I thank you for your deep affection for your hometown and the country. You stood up and shook hands with the municipal party secretary. This is what I should do. After the meeting, the officials gradually left. The county party secretary and county magistrate deliberately stayed to invite you to lunch, but you politely declined. We won't eat. Time is tight, and this matter is not easy. We need everyone's understanding and support. The county party secretary nodded repeatedly. Understood, understood. We will send a working group to cooperate with you in community work. Stepping out of the county government building. The sunlight is just right. Looking at this familiar county town before you, the streets are not wide, the buildings are not tall, and people's clothing is not fashionable. But here there is a kind of simplicity and warmth that a big city lacks. In Bishui Huading, the best villa area in Baixian. You just finished breakfast. It's called the best villa, but it's actually just county standard. A 3-story detached house with small courtyards front and back. The decoration is quite exquisite, but compared to your manor in Africa, which covers several square kilometers, this place was like a temporary stopover, but you didn't care. You bought more than a dozen villas from your neighbors in one go, one for yourself, and the rest for your accompanying biochemical team. In the spacious living room, you were leisurely reading the morning news. Outside the floor-to-ceiling window, several security guards were searching the courtyard. They were dressed in plain clothes, their sharp eyes and upright posture still exuding an unusual aura. Xinxia ran down from upstairs in pink loungewear. His phone is still running his back-end page. Bro, look, my followers have increased by 500,000 again. Now it's over 72 million. You smile and take the phone to check. Not bad, keep it up. Got it. Xinxia came over, blinking. Bro, there's not much fresh content in the live stream these past few days. Fans are all asking what will happen next. How about we go check out Lijia Village? Have you picked out Lijia Village? Yeah, didn't you say the materials company chose a location near Lijia Village? The government is currently working on land acquisition work. Let's go check it out, treat it as an inspection. Think about it, these days are indeed quite relaxed. It's good to go out and check out the situation in Lijia Village. 1. Xinxia jumped up excitedly. 20 minutes later, 3 cars pulled out from a water avoidance sliding stop. Leading the way was a black Macbach GLS 600. Yu and Xinxia sat in the back, followed by 2 Mercedes-Benz Giants. Each car had 4 guards. The convoy drove out of the scene at a leisurely pace, heading toward Lijia Village. Xinxia had already started live streaming, and almost as soon as it started, the number of viewers in the live stream began to skyrocket. 100,000, 300,000, 500,000. In just 5 minutes, the online viewers have already surpassed 800,000. Xinxia smiled sweetly at the camera. Hello everyone. Everyone. The live comments exploded instantly. Good morning, miss. Finally live, I've been waiting a day. Where is this? Is it in the car? Is President Xin next to me? Please show your face, President Xin. What content is airing today? Xin adjusted his phone nails so the camera could capture the scenery outside the window. Today I'm going to see the situation over in Lijia Village. My brother is planning to invest in Huaixin. Lijia Village is the site chosen by a materials company. The live chat immediately exploded. Investment? What investment? Lijia Village, that Lijia Village in Huaixin. Materials company, General Manager Xin is setting up a factory in his hometown. Please give details, please. You just smiled from the side but didn't say anything. Xin held a meeting and continued interacting with fans. The specific investment details are pretty big. The company has already been registered in Huaixin. Huanyu Group Longhua Company has 500 billion in funds transferred in. What? 500 billion? Did I mostly get 0? Damn. 500 billion units, amnesia. Longhua coins, Miyuan. Xinxia looked at the shocked emojis in the chat and smiled, saying, it's Longhua coins. 500 billion has already been transferred to the company account, specifically for investment projects in Huai County. The live stream chat completely exploded. The news of this 500 billion investment in a small county town is practically like dropping a nuclear bomb on the internet. 500 billion invested in Huai County. Huai County is about to take off. The people of Huai County are blessed. I'm jealous. Why not my hometown? Xinxia paused and added, but this is just an initial investment. There may be more updates later. This sentence triggered another round of flooding. The convoy continued forward, having already left the county town for over 10 kilometers. The road gradually narrowed, changing from 4 lanes in both directions to 2 lanes, and the road conditions were worse than those around the county town. Some places still have potholes. The footage of Xinxia recorded these things. Look, this road might need to be rebuilt. It will only be rebuilt at the company later. There will be many transport vehicles, and the current road definitely won't be enough. Some knowledgeable netizens analyzed in the comments. This road is built to second-class highway standards, but its maximum capacity is 2,000 vehicles per day. If it were a large materials company, there could be over 1,000 trucks coming and going daily. Look outside the window, I'm also thinking about it. Roads, power grids, water supply, sewage treatment, these infrastructure do need upgrades. But if you're confident money isn't the issue, technology isn't the issue, the key is time. When the convoy enters Lijia Village, it was exactly 10 a.m. Sunlight poured onto the neat cement village roads, flanked by newly built 2-story buildings. White walls and red tiles, tiled surfaces, and every household had electric tricycles parked in front of their doors, and some even had cars parked in front of their doors. Xinxia's camera captured all of this. He personally told the viewers in the live stream, look, the rural areas of Huaixin are doing pretty well now, right? Most are 2-story buildings, and the roads are well built. The comments were full of agreement. It's really good, much better than my hometown. The rural areas of Yuxing are like this now. The country has invested heavily in recent years, and the roads are really smooth, even better than the provincial roads in our area. Suddenly, an unexpected scene appeared on screen. At the first intersection at the village entrance, a black Audi Q7 was parked by the roadside, surrounded by more than a dozen young people.